We are diving straight into a hidden dungeon. The Altar of the End looks cozy. A lone warrior with blue wings is getting absolutely wrecked by a massive explosion. She is clearly outmatched, wondering where the hell her backup is before she gets flattened. Towering over her is a massive demon, confirming her fears of an imminent party wipe. This hidden boss, Ember, is at 10% health but still has time for classic villain monologuing. He unleashes a volley of fireballs, not giving her a single moment to breathe. Throwing up a shield, she barely blocks the attack while someone off-screen yells nanny. Just then, a hand appears over her shield, dangling a charm with perfect timing. This newcomer, a healer named Sato Meiji, is actually the one who hates being called nanny. He quickly buffs his teammate, telling her they just need to stall until he arrives. Now powered up, the battler charges straight at Ember with a desperate, glowing punch. But Ember just tanks the hit, bored out of his mind by their futile struggles. Suddenly, a third player in a dark cloak blitzes the boss with a flurry of attacks. This cloaked figure lands gracefully after his high-speed assault, leaving the demon stunned. Seeing her chance, the battler screams the signal for the next phase of their plan. A fourth party member, crackling with lightning, dives in to deliver the final blow. His lightning-charged attack connects for a staggering 8 million damage. This guy Nishiro is feeling pretty good about landing such a significant hit. Except Ember is way faster, grabbing him by the face while mocking his pathetic speed. This boss's Lord Slayer skill paralyses Nishiro on contact, so much for that big entrance. Sato and the battler can only scream Nishiro's name, completely helpless on the ground. At the same time, some kind of massive defensive barrier just shatters into a million pieces, but their despair instantly flips to hype as the whole party realizes their real backup is here. And there he is, the so-called strongest man, blocking Ember's world-ending attack with one hand. This newcomer, Shizuya, casually apologizes for being late, blaming the boss's family for the holdup. He then introduces himself as the rank 1 player and morbidly promises Nishiro he brought his brother to die with him. Without another word, our boy faces down a massive wall of fire from the enraged demon. He just blitzes right through it, slicing up Ember and some kind of red monster minion on the side. This battlefield erupts into chaos as he dances between multiple copies of the boss, prompting Sato to yell out the raid mechanics. Stay in the flames for 3 seconds and you are paralyzed. His teammates are not worried though, smugly declaring that 3 seconds is more than enough for their guy. Shizuya proves them right, moving so fast he is just a blur against the dungeon floor. He keeps pushing forward through the fire, boasting that 3 seconds is all he needs to end this. In fact, he is so confident he claims he will have time left over. What an absolute show-off. Then he winds up for a massive, glowing downward strike aimed straight at Ember's core. This attack connects in a blinding flash of holy-looking power, just total overkill. Ember cannot even believe it, staring down at the gaping hole where his chest used to be. Shizuya just stands there looking bored as the system announces a record-breaking boss kill. But as his team celebrates, he looks up at the swirling sky, sensing something is deeply wrong, while his party members are cheering about the instant kill, totally oblivious to the next disaster. This cloaked guy tries to downplay the win, but the battler snaps back that they'd be dead without Shizuya. He offers a painfully sarcastic thanks, while Sato internally geeks out over Shizuya's insane combat sense. But it is more than that. Sato knows his complete mastery of the game's code is what makes him the strongest. Nishiro agrees, calling him the true king for pulling a perfect strategy out of thin air. Right on cue, a system notification pings exclusively for Shizuya, who looks up with a dead serious expression. This system confirms he has unlocked every single achievement in the game, officially declaring it complete. This includes a unique achievement he did not even know existed, just for being the first to 100% everything. Before he can even read the reward, a global alert announces service termination in 5 seconds. His party members are absolutely furious, screaming about the careless management shutting things down without warning. A final, cryptic message promises they will meet again as we see the players' real-world faces for the first time. 5 days later, we are out of the game and on a high-speed train in the modern world. News reports are buzzing about how the massively popular Azure land just vanished without any explanation. On that train is Shizuya, looking at his phone and trying to process what the hell just happened. And he is actually shedding a tear because he got kicked before seeing his unique reward, a true gamer tragedy. He is scrolling through a group chat where his old teammates are just as lost as he is. As a train station announcement plays, a message pops up from one of his buddies. This friend is surprised to be thanked, prompting Shizuya to give his phone a look that says, "Are you mocking me?" Another friend then drops a link into the chat calling it a declaration of war, which definitely piques his interest. It leads to a streamer who claims she has found a clue, pointing the finger at a suspicious guild called Mapo Tofu. She pulls up a leaderboard showing this guild has a 101% completion rate, which is, not how math works. This battler from their party is absolutely fuming in the group chat, demanding answers from Shizuya. Sato then chimes in, sarcastically asking if our boy thinks his 101% achievement personally unplugged the servers. On the train, Shizuya just scoffs at the idea, completely unaware of the chaos about to unfold. But a strange sensation suddenly hits him, making him grab at his collar in confusion. His eyes go wide with shock as he realizes something is terribly, terribly wrong. This entire train car starts getting sucked into a swirling blue vortex that just opened on the floor. Blue digital particles fill the air as reality itself seems to be glitching out around them. Looking at his hands, Shizuya sees the same glowing data patterns crawling up his skin. This train itself is being ripped to shreds, metal groaning under the impossible pressure. Everyone is sent tumbling into the abyss, Shizuya included, as the floor gives way completely. Out of nowhere, a massive energy blade slices through the wreckage with a deafening sound. Shizuya looks up in horror as a splash of blood confirms this is no longer a game. A familiar, terrifying silhouette begins to materialize from the digital chaos, a monster from Azure Land. This armored beast fully forms, bringing its glowing weapon into the real world. And it is not alone either, as a whole squad of these blue monsters appears, ready for a slaughter. Absolute panic erupts as the passengers scramble for their lives, screaming in terror. That loud guy from earlier tries to be a hero and gets his arm lopped off for the effort. A woman begs for help while the monster stands over another victim, completely indifferent. Its glowing blue eye locks onto its next target with cold, mechanical precision, and with a brutal downward slash, the monster continues its merciless rampage. That monster's massive energy blade slams down, barely missing Shizuya in the wreckage. Our boy is completely lost, trying to process how his commute turned into a boss raid. Looking up at the armored beast, he gets a weird sense of deja vu from its stance. That vertical slash is a move he has definitely seen before. This is straight out of the game. Its spinning attack carves up the train car, forcing Shizuya to keep his distance. A massive energy shield then erupts, blocking off any chance of a counterattack. Suddenly, a memory of a game mechanic clicks and he stomps on a glowing panel on the floor. This panel shatters, revealing a hidden monster. He knows he has to push forward, not run. This armored commander just stares him down, its glowing eye promising a swift end. But Shizuya gets a look on his face that says, "I know exactly what you are." A system window pops up confirming he is level 1 with a god tier title. Talk about a bad start. This monster's own stats appear, revealing it is a level 35 commander, a noble. Shizuya recognizes its next move as a basic commander skill he has seen 1,000 times. Yep, the system confirms it is the classic Leon slash, a totally predictable opener. This slash carves a massive hole right through the side of the train wreckage. He realizes this is not just an attack, it is a shortcut to the worm dungeon. Peeking through the new opening, he sees the entrance to the worm station. Shizuya steels himself, knowing this is his only way out of this mess. Of course, the monster is right behind him, making it very clear who the target is. He immediately bolts, realizing a level 1 player has zero chance in a straight-up fight. Staring down the commander, Shizuya knows he has to take a massive gamble. For a second, he'd forgotten this was real life, where one wrong move gets you killed. As the monster's blade crashes down, he admits he was just having too much fun. I mean, it has been a while since he got to play a proper game right. He ducks behind some wreckage, luring the beast into a perfect trap. With his eyes glowing, our boy gives a smirk that just screams you fell for it. And with a cry of game over, he brings the entire ceiling down on the monster's head. This system absolutely floods him with notifications, instantly boosting him to level 8. Standing over the rubble, Shizuya breathes a sigh of relief. The gamble paid off. He remembers how terrain kills were a classic cheese strat for punching way above your weight class. But his victory lap is cut short by his phone buzzing, reminding him about the other survivors. His group chat is going nuts, confirming the city's been invaded and asking if he is even alive. Just then, a whole new squad of shadow hunters teleports in because of course they do. Now at level 8, he knows he is still hopelessly outmatched and has to prioritize his own survival. Suddenly, a system alert pings, analyzing a drop item right at his feet. It is the commander's weapon, glowing with an insane amount of power. This sword itself looks absolutely sick, crackling with blue energy and a jagged design. Its stats are completely broken for a low-level player, even offering a job change to commander. Shizuya cannot believe his luck, reaching for a treasure he never could have gotten in the actual game. But the system warns him about a hate stock skill, basically a GPS tracker for angry owners. He is immediately faced with a level 25 Shadow Archer, realizing monsters can use player-exclusive skills. This system asks if he will fuse with the sword, warning him about the hate stock tracking skill. Shizuya smashes yes, anyway, instantly unlocking the entire commander class skill tree. Overwhelmed by the power-up, he realizes his new title just gave him every commander ability at once. He immediately activates Brave Flag, a skill that boosts his speed and defense. Knowing he needs to ditch the mob chasing him, he quickly finds the perfect escape tool. It is the Leon Slash, a triple-hit attack that he knows has a secret secondary use. Our boy remembers it is also an insane movement skill, basically a triple jump for stylish getaways. He pops the skill, using the slashes to launch himself down a massive flight of stairs. But the whole monster squad is right behind him, stampeding down the steps in hot pursuit. After some fancy footwork, he peeks from cover, hoping he finally shook them off. He gets a moment to breathe, admiring the new sword and feeling pretty good about his life choices. Its stats are way better than in the game, but that hate stock is still a ticking time bomb. With a determined glare, he knows his only goal right now is to escape this monster-infested station. Unfortunately, the exit is swarming with an absolute horde of shadowy creatures. Peeking from behind a door, he dryly notes the incredible number of enemies waiting for him. Then he spots something impossible in the crowd, a glowing blue crystal, a respawn point. Shizuya is completely baffled since those are supposed to be for players only. A horrifying theory clicks into place. What if these monsters asterisk are the players and humans are the mobs? Looking out at the broken world, he is left wondering if this is just Azure Land's terrible new update. His new theory means he is being hunted by infinitely respawning players for 7 days straight. A real player would never leave their weapon behind, especially not with a monster like him. Knowing he understands this game better than anyone, he refuses to just sit around and die. These immortal players are on his tail, but he is ready to take them on anyway. With only one life to his name, Shizuya sprints through the station, vowing to make it out alive. His game knowledge kicks in. He knows the worm dungeon should be right under this station. And just as he predicted, there is a giant, disgusting hole leading to the C-rank dungeon. This place is full of nightmare fuel worms, but our boy knows a secret cheese strat to skip the boss. This is his golden ticket, a perfect spot to grind levels while staying off his pursuer's radar. Of course, there is a catch. If that secret route does not exist here, he is stuck fighting the boss. And his odds of soloing that thing at his current level are, to put it mildly, absolute zero. Just then, the armored squad shows up right behind him because his luck is just that good. With the respawned hunters closing in, Shizuya makes a leap of faith right into the worm pit. Our boy plummets into a cavern absolutely swarming with giant, hungry-looking worms. Luckily, he remembers their gimmick: stay quiet and they will not even notice you are there. Seizing his chance, he makes a perfectly timed leap onto the back of a passing worm. He sticks the landing, turning the giant maggot into his own personal, disgusting subway car. Now he is just cruising through the dungeon on his new worm mount, trying to look casual. In a cavern designed to be a death trap, hitching a ride is the only smart way to travel. His destination is a mystical cave with a spring that not only heals but also boosts stats. He remembers the lore: soak in this spring for 3 days and you become an official ally of the worms. Riding his worm taxi, Shizuya is feeling pretty smug about his flawless no-damage run so far. Of course, his ride immediately bucks him off because his luck is just that good. He eats dirt with an ungraceful thud. So much for that perfect plan. Looking up, he realizes his quiet little stroll has attracted the entire worm neighborhood, and they all look absolutely thrilled to have a new chew toy, which is him. With no other choice, he powers up his commander skills, really not wanting this fight. Popping Brave Flag, he plans to exploit their main weakness, turning like a freight train. He uses Leon Slash to basically wall run his way out of the immediate danger zone. His first priority is just creating some distance from the hungry, writhing death ball behind him. Now it is a mad dash down the tunnel toward the cave he was aiming for all along. But the worm stampede is gaining on him fast, threatening to swallow him whole. Then he spots a weak point on the ceiling, activating Leon Slash for a brilliant, terrible idea. A quick slash brings a chunk of the ceiling crashing down, blocking the tunnel behind him. He breathes a sigh of relief, conveniently ignoring the smaller worms he is now trapped with. That relief lasts for about half a second before he finally looks ahead. And there it is, the glowing spring he's been looking for, the Tears of Pharaoh. Dipping a hand in, he gets a tiny stat boost, confirming this is the real deal. This system confirms the trial has begun, promising a massive 50 stat points if he can last 3 days. But there is a catch. The trial starts by draining his stats first, one painful point at a time. This stat drain hits Shizuya like a truck, the pain almost overwhelming him instantly. Then a weird mental fog rolls in, making him question what is even happening to him. Suddenly, he is hit with a horrifying vision of a woman screaming in a ruined city. Our boy realizes this is a mental debuff, a type of pain the game never prepared him for. Whispers echo in his mind, calling his name and the name of someone named Hitomi. It is a memory of his old guildmates, a rare moment of peace from his past life. But that memory twists into a nightmare, his friends now ghouls accusing him of being late. Shizuya just screams, completely losing it as the psychic assault breaks through his defenses. He collapses into the spring, admitting the mental attacks are getting way too intense. Forcing himself to focus, he tries to ride out the pain, telling himself to stay calm. Time blurs as he endures the trial, marked only by a single glowing drop of water. After what feels like 2 days, he clenches his fist, determined to survive just one more. He is so far gone he is about to stab himself just to stay conscious, a truly solid plan. Just as he is about to do it, a sudden noise snaps him out of his desperate state. And standing over him is one of the armored hunters, ready to end his trial permanently. Lying defeated in the water, he accepts that a human cannot beat infinitely respawning players. All his hope drains away, realizing his plan was just wishful thinking from the start. His mind drifts toward giving up, finally letting go of the struggle to survive. After all, if he just gives up, he will not have to suffer anymore, right? But then something snaps and he declares that is wrong. He is the strongest player. With only one life, he decides he just has to win without respawning, simple as that. A wild scream rips out of him as he fully embraces the agonizing power-up from the spring. This system confirms he has passed the trial, officially becoming an honorary worm. Stumbling to his feet, he wonders if that entire psychic beatdown was just a hallucination. This 3-day fast finally catches up and our boy just wants to find the exit. So much for a power-up. He is so weak he can barely even crawl out of the cave. He figures since he is one of them now, the crowd of death worms ahead will not attack him. Then some massive red eyes light up the darkness, suggesting his new friendship has limits. This look on Shizuya's face says it all. He knows exactly what is about to show up. And there it is, the dungeon boss, the big worm, here to say hello to its new best friend. A charming close-up of its mouth reveals it is basically a shredder with a face. Instead of attacking, the boss just spits up a gift for him, a glob of worm essence. With its 4 glowing eyes, the giant worm just stares at him, looking surprisingly non-homicidal. He realizes this is his reward, a health potion from his new worm family. How sweet. Peeking out of the dungeon, he sees the high-level hunters are gone, leaving only the under-leveled scrubs. His new power puts him at an equivalent of level 125 and he is ready to wipe the floor with them. Without a second's hesitation, Shizuya activates Leon Slash and crashes right into the enemy mob. He follows up with a stun rush, using the same skill to slide in and knock a hunter off its feet. Our boy is just a blur of blue lightning, effortlessly tearing through the remaining hunters. But an archer gets a shot off, loosing a chase arrow that is now locked right onto him. With that homing arrow on his tail, Shizuya pops Brave Flag for a desperate speed boost. This arrow just misses, slamming into a fire extinguisher box with a massive thud. It explodes in a huge cloud of smoke, giving him some much-needed cover. Realizing he cannot stick around, our boy knows this is his only chance to escape. Through the haze, he sees the hunter readying another attack while his vision is blocked. His face is pure focus as he bolts for the exit, trying to use the chaos to his advantage. But another hunter appears from the side, landing a nasty slash across his shoulder. Shizuya hits the wall hard, clutching the wound as his strength starts to fade. Annoyed at his own mistake, he looks up to see another armored enemy looming over him. This one is holding something new, a glowing blue portal stone. This lead hunter raises it high, summoning 2 more allies and confirming they are a coordinated group. Cornered and bleeding out, Shizuya knows there is no way he can dodge this next assault. Then right on cue, a giant worm crashes through the ceiling, squashing the hunters flat. From the hole above, a whole swarm of his new best friends starts pouring into the station. It is a writhing tide of giant worms, and for once, they are on his side. Our boy can only stare in disbelief, thanking his worm saviors for the timely intervention. He checks his status, noticing he has still got some of that healing worm essence left. His eyes then land on the dropped portal stone, and a truly terrible idea is born. A glint in his eye shows he is about to do something completely unhinged. Shizuya commands his new army to swallow the stone and prepare for a high-speed assault. Shizuya's plan is to use the worm's slow, heavy bodies to simply crush the players. And just like that, his new worm army flattens the armored squad into station floor pancakes. As a bonus, he is getting all the X from their kills, instantly jumping him 9 whole levels. He even gets a look at all the high-level gear they dropped. Too bad it has all been pulverized. Knowing they will just respawn, Shizuya makes a run for it, vowing to end their infinite lives somehow. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, an emergency broadcast warns of a massive monster attack. While drones tell everyone to evacuate, a couple of looters are taking the opportunity to do some shopping. Elsewhere, a girl with blue hair is just vibing to her music, completely zoned out from the world. Someone calls out to her from inside a convenience store where she is apparently working. This guy just grabs a drink, acting totally casual amidst the unfolding apocalypse. She tries to ring him up, somehow oblivious to the spiky monster literally right outside the door. Wondering where the staff is, she decides to just use the self-checkout because priorities. Stepping outside, she holds her phone up, complaining about bad reception in the middle of a war zone. Her biggest problem right now is that she can only listen to downloaded songs as monsters fly by. Suddenly, a hand grabs her arm, yanking her violently out of her musical bubble. This sudden jolt sends her headphones flying and her freshly bought snacks tumbling to the ground. A mysterious hooded guy shoves her against a wall, telling her to be quiet as a monster looms nearby. And just in time too, as a massive armored foot slams down right where she was standing. This guy scolds her for almost walking right into a giant, terrifying shadow assassin. But she just blames her phone, completely unfazed by the level 25 monster staring them down. Their little stroll is cut short as a monster spots them, forcing a mad dash for cover. That shadow assassin dives right at them, and the hooded guy's eyes glow with familiar power. He yanks the girl out of the way just as the monster's bladed wing slices past. She looks back, completely stunned by the sudden life-or-death situation she is now in. With a flash of energy, the guy blocks the monster's strike, holding his ground. And the hood comes off, revealing it is Shizuya. Our boy is back in the game. Shizuya immediately goes on the offensive, leaping in with a massive golden slash. But the assassin just powers up its own blue energy blade, ready for round 2. He takes a hit but instantly recognizes the attack pattern as a basic assassin move. Knowing this is a bad matchup, he decides their best bet is to get the hell out. So he smashes through a nearby building, trying to create some distance from the monster. Meanwhile, his new companion is just filming the whole thing because of course she is. While he is trying to save her, she is worried about the snack she left behind. His scolding about her priorities gets a weird response. She says the monsters will not attack her. This statement completely short-circuits Shizuya's brain, leaving him utterly baffled by her logic. She then points to his hand, noticing the glowing blue pattern from the portal stone. Our boy admits he has been through a lot lately, which is the understatement of the century. Turns out, when he grabbed that portal stone, he accidentally absorbed its power. He decides to call his new ability Signal, as blue energy streams from his eyes. This scene then shifts to a burning city, hinting at the wider destruction happening all around them. Following a sign to some old ruins, Kakun calls out to Shizuya to wait up. She is confused how he knows this area so well, especially since she grew up here. Shizuya just holds up a map, bluntly stating he is not a local, he is just not lost. Turns out he recognizes the entire layout from the beginner village in his old MMO. And it clicks. The game developers literally just copy-pasted this real-world city for their starting zone. He finally asks her why she is even following him into a clearly dangerous area. Getting a little huffy, she stomps her foot in annoyance at his tone. She finally introduces herself as Kakon, demanding he stop calling her you. Her brilliant reason for tagging along is that it seemed interesting, a solid survival strategy. As they continue, Shizuya's foot suddenly triggers a glowing blue trap on the steps. A massive spike trap swings down from the ceiling, nearly taking their heads off. This charming welcome mat leads them to the entrance of a hidden cave system. Kakon realizes this is her old childhood hideout, now looking significantly more like a death trap. Shizuya immediately shushes her, sensing they are definitely not alone down there. Peering into the darkness, they spot a cluster of strange, sparkling lights deep below. Those are not monster eyes, though. It is a full-on firefight raging at the bottom of the cave. 2 other survivors are desperately trying to hold their ground against an unseen enemy. Their opponents are revealed to be a level 23 Shadow Soldier and a level 20 Shadow Magician. A level 18 Shadow Cleric is also with them, basically a fully formed monster dungeon party. Shizuya analyzes the threat, noting they are weaker than the station hunters. He can take these guys. Shizuya charges straight at the monster party, his hand crackling with power and zero fear. From the sidelines, Kakun can only watch in a total panic, screaming his name. Our boy gracefully leaps over a magic blast, completely shocking the two survivors below. That Shadow Cleric looks up, surprised to see a human dropping in for a visit, a very violent one. With a brilliant golden slash, Shizuya executes his plan perfectly by taking out the healer first. His gamer brain knows that without support, the tank is just a big, angry, predictable idiot. And right on cue, the Shadow Soldier charges, but Shizuya sidesteps it like it is standing still. Seeing their chance, the two survivors start laying down some serious cover fire on the magician. Those remaining monsters share a look, probably coordinating their next spectacularly bad idea. In response, the soldier throws up a massive ice wall, completely blocking the incoming bullets. That wall shatters almost instantly under the relentless gunfire from the survivors. But then the monsters are just gone, leaving the soldiers totally confused in the aftermath. Shizuya casually strolls over, telling them to save their ammo since the monsters have retreated for now. His reward for saving them is a gun to the face, as the soldier demands to know who he is. Kakun immediately jumps to his defense, insisting he is human. Thanks for clearing that up. She explains he is the one who saved her back in town, which seems to calm them down a bit. This female soldier, clearly in charge, lowers her weapon and suggests they all talk inside. It turns out they are army reserves, and this cave is a makeshift base for a whole group of survivors. Hearing this, Kakun gets ridiculously excited, announcing she trained at the very same school. Their leader explains the mission went sideways when comms were cut, forcing them to flee here from the monsters. This lead soldier explains these are the only civilians they managed to save from the hundreds they started with. Shizuya just tells her she has done more than enough since this whole apocalypse is beyond common sense. She knows the monsters will not just let them leave, and our boy agrees with a grim prediction of his own. This cave is not just a cave, it is a mandatory beginner's dungeon from his old MMO, and he knows exactly who the bosses are, the level 15 twin demons, one for artillery, one for speed. This male soldier chimes in, perfectly recalling the male demon's slow but powerful magic attacks. While the female soldier describes the female demon's fast but weaker crossbow strikes, wait, they are all gamers. Kakun gets worried as Shizuya clutches his head, hit by a sudden, massive realization, and with dawning horror he whispers that it is all starting to make a terrible kind of sense. This game did not just inspire reality, it literally overrode it, turning the whole world into a death trap. All those people who suddenly appeared are just players dropped into this nightmare scenario. And their twisted game is to hunt down humanity in the so-called name of justice. His existential crisis is cut short by the rattle of a makeshift soda can tripwire. A heavy boot stomps down right next to it, confirming their uninvited guests have finally arrived. Everyone tenses up as Shizuya realizes the enemies are back, and they are even stronger this time. Some random guy tries to play hero and check it out, getting immediately yanked back by the soldier. She orders all civilians to the back, telling them to forget their belongings and just hide. Peeking from cover, Kakun starts counting the new arrivals, her voice trailing off in fear, because it is not just monsters, it is 5 of those fully armored player hunters from the station. Shizuya steps up, telling Kakun to get the civilians out while he and the soldiers hold the line. So the welcoming committee is a full-on player party, complete with a level 25 King Shadow Archer. With glowing eyes, Shizuya instantly clocks their strategy. They are using light arrows to negate the darkness. He tells the soldiers to provide cover fire, shouting that he will handle the back row himself. Right on cue, the Shadow Warrior summons a huge crystal shield, blocking the path forward. From behind the shield, the magicians start spamming a good old-fashioned fireball attack. Our boy dodges through the volley of explosions with way too much grace for this situation. This warrior just digs in, taking a defensive position like the perfect MMO tank it is. Using the shield as a damn springboard, Shizuya flips right over the tank's head. Meanwhile, the soldiers' bullets are just pathetically bouncing off that crystal wall. These two soldiers keep unloading their clips anyway, a look of pure stress on their faces. Now airborne, Shizuya bypasses the tank entirely and dives straight for the squishy backline. He scoffs that they are just noobs with basic skills, vowing to end this quickly. But that level 25 archer immediately proves him wrong, charging up a nasty-looking technical shot. A beam of blue energy forces Shizuya into a desperate dive as the shot just misses him. Landing hard, he is completely stunned that a supposed beginner could pull off a technical shot. It dawns on him that this archer is not just playing a game, they have real battle experience. Before he can even process that, the magician's next fireball explodes right where he landed. This shockwave from the blast sends the male soldier flying, his rifle taking the hit. Shizuya, totally fine, notes with some alarm that these players are clearly leveling up fast. Without missing a beat, he engages the magician, blocking its green energy blast with a powerful golden slash. Shizuya realizes these players are not just strong, they are actively grinding proficiency in this death game. Meanwhile, the Shadow Magician just instantly heals any damage they manage to inflict, which is super helpful. With the tank protecting the backline, this monster party has some surprisingly solid teamwork for a bunch of murder hobos. This archer's covering fire keeps Shizuya pinned down, completely unable to reach the squishies. He is getting seriously frustrated, realizing he cannot close the distance at all with this much spam. Seeing this, the male soldier decides it is time for a last-ditch explosive solution. But before he can act, the tank monster slams down its massive crystal shield right in Shizuya's face. Our boy gets absolutely rocked by the shield bash, sending him flying backwards across the cave. As he tumbles through the air, the soldier screams at him to fall back before he gets himself killed. Shizuya just lands with a grunt, more pissed off than anything else after that rude interruption. Looking at his bloody hand, he remembers how easily he'd sacrifice NPCs in the game to win. But now he is faced with the grim reality that these are living people. Could he really do that here? Elsewhere, the terrified civilians are huddled in the dark, including a little girl crying all by herself. Suddenly, a lollipop appears, offered to the scared child as a small comfort. A new blue-haired woman tells the girl not to look so sad, trying to cheer her up. She gently pats her head, asking the kid where her mom and dad are. This girl just breaks down, explaining her sister brought her here before something terrible happened. Back in the fight, the lead soldier yells that they are retreating and she will blow a path for them. Her plan is basically to buy them a few more days, a truly inspiring survival strategy. Shizuya, however, activates a skill called Brave Flag, buffing everyone's speed and health. Retreat is not on his mind. With glowing eyes, Shizuya apologizes for what he is about to do, unleashing a strange power. This blue light reflects in the eyes of a woman named Akina, who looks on in total shock. This energy reveals a memory of two siblings, Akina and Takuto, bound by this strange power. Meanwhile, the little girl clutches her lollipop, tearfully asking if the soldiers are going to die. Her fears are realized as the male soldier, Takuto, is struck down by a beam of energy. This female soldier, Akina, watches in horror, realizing her brother kept a terrible secret from her. Shizuya then stands over the body, coldly stating he had to sacrifice him to defeat the players. Our boy explains this is a special chain system from his game, a soul-bound sacrifice mechanic. It is a system that binds two people's power, represented by two demonic figures linked together. This system is visualized as a chain link, which now shatters with a burst of sparks. Akina screams her brother's name as the grim reality of the game mechanic becomes clear. Rushing to his side, she begs him to hold on, but it is clearly too late for him. Shizuya, now holding a blue energy sword, tells her there is no time to grieve, they have to move. Her hand tightens around her rifle, her expression shifting from grief to pure, unadulterated rage. Standing up, she mutters that if one half of the chain is gone, the other one is too. And just like that, she collapses to the ground, seemingly taken by the chain's deadly backlash. Her hand slips from a bag as she falls, revealing a satchel packed with explosives. But she is not done yet, grabbing the explosives in a final, desperate act of defiance. With a final heave, she hurls the entire bag of explosives down at the player hunters below. Going full berserker, she unloads her rifle into the falling satchel, screaming for them all to die. And the whole cave just erupts in a massive, fiery explosion, a real party starter. Caught in the blast, Akina is thrown back, completely stunned by her own kamikaze move. Her rifle slips from her grasp, clattering to the ground as her strength finally gives out. Down on her knees, she is completely spent, having given everything in that final, desperate act. In a flashback, she remembers nagging her brother about his choices, holding back her career. But he just smiles, reminding her she chose to stay and save civilians with him instead. Tears hit the ground as she remembers that moment, her hand reaching out for his. She cries out, calling him a fool, but it is clear she is just heartbroken over losing him. And with that last memory, her body finally gives out, collapsing to the stone floor. Shizuya, meanwhile, watches this whole tragedy unfold with an unnervingly calm expression. But wait a second, a cough racks Takuto's body and he is definitely not dead. He sits up, totally confused about what just happened, with Shizuya standing right there. Our boy explains his Brave Flag buff was just enough to prevent a fatal wound, all calculated. Looking around, Takuto sees the player hunters are gone, assuming Shizuya wiped them out. Akina, now very much alive, gets up and immediately punches her brother for being an idiot. After the world's most aggressive reunion hug, they both notice something sparkling on the ground. Takuto reaches down, wondering what the heck this little thing is that just appeared. It turns out to be a sparkling ring, which is a weird drop for a near-death experience. He admits he was planning to give it to her later, realizing it must have saved her life. Overwhelmed, Akina just pulls him into a hug, a rare moment of peace in this nightmare. Akina completely breaks down, crying that she has been waiting all this time for her brother to be safe. Shizuya just watches them with a faint, knowing smile, as if this was all part of his grand design. Kakon asks if they are okay, while our boy casually notes the twin demons actually had feelings for each other. Takuto comforts his sister, realizing the game's system allowed them to survive. Defeat is not guaranteed. With a newfound confidence, Shizuya declares that they finally have a real chance to win this. But of course, 30 minutes later, he is beaten and bloody because hope is for suckers in this world. A massive new monster now blocks the cave entrance, and it seems despair is officially back on the menu. One of the civilians immediately starts freaking out, screaming that going outside is not an option. This guy riles up the crowd, arguing they came here for safety and leaving now would be suicide. And just like that, the rest of the survivors join the mutiny, flat out refusing to move an inch. Akina tries to reason with them, explaining their location has been exposed and more enemies are on the way. This crowd just turns their backs on her, completely ignoring the very logical warning. So Shizuya steps in, dropping the fun fact that the players they just defeated are going to respawn. His glowing eyes narrow as he adds the delightful little detail that they will be even stronger next time. This loudmouth civilian loses it, yelling that if enemies respawn infinitely, they should all just give up now. He then turns on Shizuya, questioning his predictions and accusing him of being a monster himself. This accusation escalates to Shizuya trying to lure them into a trap, which earns him a furious glare from Kakon. She gets right in his face, telling him if he wants to stay here and die, he can do it alone. Their argument is suddenly interrupted by the sound of a slow, deliberate clap from nearby. It is Takuto who proposes a compromise: leave with them or stay and wait for the backup he was told about. Takuto lays out the options: risk the airport or wait for backup that might not come. Just then, a small hand tugs on Akina's sleeve in a silent plea, and the little girl pipes up, declaring she is sticking with Akina and Takuto, which is just adorable. Our loudmouth civilian and his posse are still not convinced, arms crossed like a bunch of toddlers. But the idea of safety at the airport starts to sway some of the others, peer pressure working its magic. This crowd finally starts to move, reluctantly following the main group's lead. Even the lead complainer caves, grumbling that he guesses they have no other choice, a true profile in courage. With the decision made, the group begins their trek out of the cave, a fragile alliance at best. Akina takes charge, yelling for everyone to pack up in 5 minutes. They are making a run for the airport before dawn. As they walk, Kakon quietly gets Shizuya's attention, clearly having some questions. Akina asks the big one, how does he know for sure the players will just respawn and come back? Kakon presses him too, wondering how he has got an instruction manual for a world-ending disaster. Shizuya starts his lecture on game mechanics, explaining players have 2 huge advantages, the first being constant growth. This second and much worse advantage is that players can respawn infinitely to try again. He compares it to a dungeon run: you can fail 1,000,000 times, but you only need to win once. With that grim logic, he states that as long as the system is like this, they, the bosses, cannot win. Our boy just shrugs off their concern, saying he is calm because they are, which is a total lie. Takuto corrects him, explaining their composure comes from military training, not a lack of fear. He then admits they were never trained for this, and they are all at their breaking point. So Shizuya just looks at him, asking why he is pushing himself so hard if he is about to snap. Takuto hits him with a dose of reality, saying he cannot possibly protect everyone here. In fact, he tells them they'd have a better shot at surviving if they just ditch the group. With a sigh, Takuto admits Shizuya's heart is in the right place, even if his logic is insane. As they walk, the group stops before a massive demonic-looking crest carved into the wall. This soldier is super confused, wondering why a national emblem was replaced with this edgy guild logo. He remembers saluting this very spot before, completely oblivious to what it really was. Shizuya cuts him off, telling him he does not need to go on some noble sacrifice monologue. But Takuto just smiles, telling him to take Kakon and run if things go south, a classic death flag. Kakon quickly changes the subject, asking what is going to happen to the little girl, Katona. This soldier explains Akina will take care of her, especially since the girl's family is probably gone. This triggers a flashback, revealing Akina cannot have kids of her own due to an old injury. He says that even though she never mentions it, it is a deep, unspoken pain for her, and that is why she never accepted his proposal. Right as Shizuya's hand starts crackling with energy, suddenly a massive blue energy beam slices through the air right at them. Shizuya screams a warning, shoving Kakon to safety just in the nick of time. This blast grazes his head, leaving a bloody gash as he glares toward the attacker. Both Kakon and Takuto are completely frozen, staring in absolute shock at the ambush. Behind them, the civilians are understandably freaking out, their brief moment of hope shattered. Bleeding from his temple, Shizuya confirms his worst fear: the players are back already. His eye glows with that familiar blue light, and you just know someone's about to have a very bad day. But the beam was not for him. It punches straight through little Katona's chest, just like that. As she falls, the little girl calls out for Akina, her big sister, in her final moments. This entire group just stands there, completely stunned by the brutal, calculated attack. This sends Akina into a rage, screaming Katona's name with pure, unfiltered fury. Ignoring all reason, she charges forward with her pistol, ready to get some payback. Meanwhile, Shizuya and Kakon are already on the move, trying to get out of the line of fire. Our boy puts it together instantly. That archer was way too skilled to miss, so they were never the real target. It was all a feint to take out Katona, and the player is already bouncing. Fueled by pure rage, Akina unleashes her own ability, something called a hate chain, and she immediately snipes the archer midair with a blast of pure, concentrated anger. This player's body hits the floor, but Akina is still screaming about them being monsters who kill kids. Takuto physically holds her back as she tries to give chase, while Shizuya and Kakon bolt for the exit. But Shizuya is screaming at them to come back, realizing they are running right into a trap. His warning comes too late as a massive stone foot slams down right in front of them, and our boy is kicking himself, suddenly remembering a crucial detail he'd completely forgotten. It is a G-Golem, a level 40 allied unit designed to guard the dungeon entrance from intruders. He recalls a famous exploit where players used a bug in its hate system to cheese bosses inside the safe zone. At that moment, the cave entrance starts to seal itself shut, trapping them on the wrong side. And of course, the archer they just took down gets right back up. Hand crackling with energy, respawns are fun. This player immediately goes on the offensive, attacking the now crippled golem. Kakon points out the respawned archer is absorbing the golem's energy, which is obviously not great. A system prompt then confirms the player just got a title for conquering the cave, adding insult to injury. Shizuya realizes with dawning horror that to these guys he is just a walking bag of XP. All their suffering, their bonds, their entire reality is just a game for these invaders to consume. Then a system window offers him a choice: activate an all-powerful ability but get hunted for a week. Watching him, Kakon just stares, completely mesmerized by the data flooding the air around him. Our boy hits activate without a second thought, instantly gaining new skills and a "you are being hunted" debuff. Suddenly he is a full-on RPG character, getting guardian skills and loot drops from thin air. This archer player just scoffs that the game must be bugging out, completely underestimating the situation. This guy readies his weapon, still thinking he is in for an easy fight against a glitchy boss. With a sigh, Shizuya decides there is no other way and lunges forward, glowing with borrowed power. He immediately blasts the archer with a fireball, a nice little welcome back gift. A new trait lets him follow up with a rush attack, chaining skills together like a pro. His kick smashes right through the player's armor, sending crystal shards flying everywhere. Standing over the dying player, Shizuya coldly asks if he gets what it is like to be left behind now. His new power then starts absorbing skills from everyone, even pulling from the twin demons. It is a full-on data vacuum, sucking up abilities from every player he has ever encountered. The civilians, meanwhile, are absolutely terrified of this glowing blue whirlwind and start to bolt. Shizuya now stands before the golem, which seems to be on his side for the moment. In its massive stone hand, the golem holds a glowing core as someone calls out for the siblings. This golem offers up its glowing core, apparently entrusting him with its final mission. It is basically handing over the keys to the kingdom, or in this case, a giant rock monster. With his eyes blazing, Shizuya accepts the burden, declaring he will take it from here. A system window pops up for the sea golem, helpfully noting it is immune to everything he has got. Logically, he knows he should not fight this thing, but logic has clearly left the building. As the golem stomps down, our boy thinks he can at least buy everyone a little time. He unleashes a rapid mana blast, suddenly convinced his new speed is enough to win this. His attack explodes right on the golem's face in a massive flash of light. But the big guy just stands there, completely unfazed by his best shot, which is never a good sign. Its eye flares a menacing red because it is officially done playing nice. Shizuya immediately senses the shift in power, realizing he is in some very deep trouble. This golem unleashes its ultimate attack, a massive red death laser called X-Crush. Our boy is scrambling for his life as the beam carves a trench right behind him. This laser just keeps coming, relentlessly tracking his every move across the cavern floor. In a last-ditch effort, he throws up a defensive shield made of pure blue energy. That shield shatters instantly on impact, sending him flying from the sheer force of the blast. He goes tumbling hard across the ground, the borrowed power not quite enough to save him. From the cave entrance, Kakon and the others can only watch and scream his name in terror. Even while busted up, Shizuya yells for them to escape while he keeps the golem busy. But with no strength left to dodge, he wonders if this is the end as the golem prepares the final blow. Desperate, Kakon screams for everyone to move, shoving her way through the crowd. She bolts towards Shizuya, leaving the stunned civilians completely in her dust. At that moment, the golem raises its massive fists, preparing to smash everything below. Its stone hands lock together, glowing hot for a devastating hammer fist attack. From the ground, Shizuya can only watch in horror, wondering what is happening now. But the golem's red eyes suddenly shift, its head snapping to a new target. Shizuya realizes the monster has completely changed its focus to the respawned archer. A crucial piece of game logic clicks. These golems are programmed to protect players. This means its aggro switched because the archer is now the one dealing damage in its zone. Knowing the evacuees are in the line of fire, Shizuya casts a holy light blessing on himself. He then plants his foot and rockets towards the giant with a burst of speed. Soaring through the air like a missile, he aims straight for the golem's torso. He knows the beast is tough, but it has one critical weakness he can exploit. That weakness is the energy core, hidden right behind its thick chest armor. With a flash of blue light, he slams his supercharged fist right into the core. This golem reacts instantly though, its massive hand swooping down to grab him. Not missing a beat, Shizuya unleashes another attack, a skill called Sweep Mana. His spell erupts in a flurry of explosions all across the golem's chest and arm. This blast completely engulfed the monster's upper body in a blinding flash of light. When the light fades, the golem stands there, its core glowing like it is about to go supernova. From the ground, Kakon can only scream Shizuya's name as the golem's core goes critical. Our boy is completely engulfed in the light, realizing he is caught, and this is very, very bad. With his vision whiting out, he has just enough time to wonder if this is the end. And then a massive pillar of golden energy erupts from the cave, piercing the sky itself. From a distance, a lone armored silhouette watches the aftermath of the explosion. This mysterious newcomer is decked out in sleek dark armor with glowing blue highlights, definitely not a friendly NPC. We then jump to 12 hours after the Shadow invasion, as a military helicopter surveys the scene. Below them is a massive, smoking crater right where that pillar of light had been. A soldier steps onto the crater's edge, confirming they flew over as soon as they saw the light show. His green-haired companion speculates that maybe an enemy just decided to self-destruct, but a red-haired girl with a mouth full of shark teeth is clearly not buying that explanation. She scoffs at the idea, asking who in their right mind could possibly corner the monsters they are hunting. At that moment, the green-haired guy's eyes narrow, sensing a presence in the woods. He spots a familiar silhouette in the distance. It is the same armored warrior from before. Its helmet is all kinds of intimidating, with glowing blue eyes staring right back at them. This red-haired girl lands with a thud, immediately classifying the stranger as an elite monster. Wielding a ridiculously oversized hammer, she grins, commenting that it looks strong. With a terrifyingly wide smile, she asks if it is going to entertain them because she is bored. Her partner just sighs, explaining that once Satsuki gets worked up, there is no stopping her. Satsuki then charges forward, swinging her glowing hammer and promising this fight will not take long. Satsuki's big swing meets nothing but air as the armored warrior lands with zero effort. And just like that, the shark-toothed brawler is down for the count, her big talk ending in a mouthful of dirt. Her green-haired partner steps in to protect her, staring down the silent, imposing stranger. A blade is at his throat before he can even blink, forcing him to admit this is a whole new threat level. This mysterious warrior just stands there, radiating an aura that says you are not the main character. This guy is completely frozen, realizing just how outclassed they both are. But instead of finishing them, the warrior just turns and walks away into the light, mission apparently complete. Satsuki scrambles up, absolutely furious they were spared, screaming that they are being underestimated. Her partner, however, speculates that maybe they were not the real target to begin with. Then we cut to a weirdly peaceful scene with little floating toys, a total mood shift. And Shizuya's eyes snap open because he is definitely not in a crater anymore. Instead, he is greeted by the sight of a cute bunny plushie on a shelf. Looking around a very tidy room, our boy is understandably confused about where he is. He quickly puts it together that he has woken up in some random girl's bedroom. Sitting up with a massive headache, he tries to process what the hell just happened. That is when he notices his right hand has been replaced with a monstrous armored claw. He flashes back to the golem's core exploding, realizing its energy is literally rewriting his body. With his new claw, he pulls up a system window to check the damage or the upgrades. This screen confirms he absorbed traits from the twin demons and the golem, not just players. He calculates that based on all the new specs, he has probably jumped to around level 25. Shizuya wakes up in a strange room, complete with a new monster arm and zero context. His attention is immediately grabbed by the smell of food wafting through the air. Along with a singing voice so bad it could probably kill a small animal. This source of the good smell, at least, is a perfectly normal fried egg. A blue-haired girl with headphones turns around, casually offering him breakfast like it is a normal Tuesday. Peeking out, our boy is just trying to figure out if this is a fever dream. He cannot help but think what a peaceful, everyday scene this is, completely ignoring the apocalyptic hellscape burning just outside the window. Yeah, the city is a smoldering ruin drenched in rain, but breakfast is served. Through the window, they are having a totally normal meal as she asks for a food review. Shizuya politely says it is good, but claims he is just not that hungry right now. She immediately calls his bluff, knowing full well her cooking is a biohazard. At least she is well stocked, bragging she has enough cup noodles to last a week. She explains she was out shopping for supplies when she found him, which is why she dropped everything. He finally gets to the point, asking if she really dragged his unconscious body here alone. Apparently she found a golf cart and did not see a single monster on the way, not suspicious at all. Shizuya starts to realize something is seriously off about this girl. From her, he senses absolutely no fear or anxiety about the end of the world. He points out that she does not seem worried about being killed in the slightest, and she just calmly confirms it, adding a very casual probably to the end. She leans back with a confident smile, explaining she has actually tried this before. With a sudden shift in tone, she admits the monsters genuinely do not seem to attack her. A flashback shows her standing calmly in a ruined street, completely surrounded by shadow beasts. Even when she walks right up to them, they just let her pass without a fight. These hulking monsters will not even give her the time of day, talk about a passive ability. Back in the present, she speculates it is some kind of superpower, just like his new arm. Shizuya asks if she can see any game-like panels, but she confirms she has got nothing. He then decides to show, not tell, as his arm begins to morph into something new. It transforms into a massive crystalline bow, which he explains is from a game called Azure Land. He lays out his theory that the apocalypse is the game made real, and she just listens intently. Of course, she immediately declares her do not get eaten power is way cooler, much to his annoyance. But talking it through makes Shizuya realize just how screwed humanity is if he is right. So she cuts to the chase, asking him what his next move is going to be. Shizuya tells her he needs to leave the city immediately and head straight for Kaijo. His comrades are there and he has to find out if they are still alive. A glint in her eye suggests she has already made up her mind about something, and with a sly smirk she announces that she is tagging along for the ride. He tries to argue that her invincibility perk works best solo since he is a total monster magnet. She just sighs that being able to go anywhere means she has no idea where to go. Her gaze sharpens as she adds there is another, more important reason she wants to come. She reveals her reason in a flashback, telling a lost friend they were too tough to die. Back in the present, she is completely lost in that painful memory, slumped over the table. Shizuya just watches her, his expression hardening as he finally understands her motivation. But their heavy moment is shattered by a sudden noise coming from the front door. His head snaps around, instantly recognizing the sound of someone messing with the lock. Yep, someone is definitely trying to break in because privacy is a luxury in the apocalypse. Shizuya immediately signals for her to be quiet, his combat instincts kicking into high gear. He tells her to go hide, promising to deal with their very unwelcome guests. As she scrambles away, he calmly walks to the door, tray in hand like a five-star butler. He quickly wraps his monster arm under his sleeve, hoping this is all a big misunderstanding. Our boy opens the door with a friendly hello and gets a blade to his neck for his troubles. On the other side is a trio of very serious survivors in matching post-apocalyptic hoodies. Shizuya, completely unfazed by the knife, just smiles and asks who they are. Their leader apologizes with a straight face, claiming he thought the apartment was empty. Playing the perfect victim, Shizuya says it is no big deal since survival is what matters. This guy with glasses adds their sob story, explaining they barely escaped the city's monsters. So Shizuya graciously invites the armed strangers inside because what other choice does he have? He even offers them drinks, playing the perfect host while being held hostage. This three of them step inside, looking around like they are ready to claim the place. Their leader then asks for the bathroom, and Shizuya points the way, all while his new friend hides. Meanwhile, his new friend peeks out from her hiding spot, looking absolutely terrified. Shizuya returns with the drinks, and the leader thanks him for waiting because manners are important during a home invasion. But the pleasantries are over as the guy with glasses starts the interrogation. His first question is about Shizuya's right arm, which is conveniently wrapped up. Shizuya plays it off as a simple injury, and the beanie guy feigns sympathy about him being all alone. They immediately point out he's got a ton of supplies, but our boy just claims he is an online shopping addict. This leader then asks what his plans are, and Shizuya says he is just going to wait out the apocalypse right here. Shizuya then notes that 4 people might be a bit crowded, but 3 would be just fine. And right on cue, the guy who went to the bathroom swings a pipe at his head from behind. This bandages just shred away as his monster arm shoots up to block the attack surprise. This thug is completely stunned, realizing he just tried to beat a man to death with a now useless pipe. Not missing a beat, the guy with glasses whips out a taser, ready for round 2. Shizuya just tilts his head, dodging the prongs with 0 effort. A quick kick sends the taser flying right out of the guy's hand. And the follow-through connects squarely with his jaw, sending him to the floor. Enraged, the beanie-wearing leader charges in to avenge his fallen comrade. Shizuya just pivots and slams his armored fist right into the guy's face. With the thugs down, his arm morphs into a blade, and the glasses guy can only stammer out one word: monster. This terrified survivor asks if he is a monster in disguise who lured them in, and Shizuya just confirms it. Looking down at the 2 unconscious idiots, Shizuya coldly admits that yeah, he is a monster now, and it is a good thing too. He smashes the taser with his blade arm, telling the thug he is not the kind of victim he was hoping for. With his weaponized limb raised high, Shizuya finishes the thought: he is definitely not a helpless civilian. But his big moment is cut short when the blue-haired girl screams for him to stop. Turns out the leader of these goons managed to sneak up and grab her from her hiding spot. And now there is a knife pressed right against her throat, completely flipping the script. This purple-haired punk threatens to kill her because hostages are always in style during an apocalypse. He smugly points out he knew Shizuya was not alone while she apologizes for getting caught. Shizuya, however, says he is the one who should be sorry for underestimating the situation. He admits he foolishly thought her monster repellent perk would keep her safe from the world's most terrifying creature, which of course is just regular old greedy humans. Plot twist. So now we have got a classic standoff, 2 goons down, 1 holding a hostage, and our boy radiating blue energy. This leader tries to play it off, saying he just smelled food, but now realizes he is in way over his head. His eyes are locked on that glowing monster arm, clearly wondering what the hell he just picked a fight with. Shizuya calmly proposes a hostage swap, banking on them not knowing his arm has a ranged mode. Instead of taking the deal, the guy demands more supplies, thinking he has got all the leverage. A split second later, a crystalline projectile launches straight from Shizuya's arm. It zips right past the girl's cheek, who can only stare in absolute shock. This projectile impales the leader clean through the chest, ending that negotiation real quick. Finally free, she rushes over to Shizuya, calling his name in a panic. He catches her as the thug collapses, looking back at the blade he just created. Shizuya stares in horror through the body of the man he just killed, his first human victim. Suddenly, a level 41 armored knight appears over the corpse, and he knows exactly who Shizuya is. Turns out this is a game mechanic from Azure Land, a hate stock state for murdered players seeking revenge. If they get that revenge, they can reclaim everything they lost, which is just fantastic news for Shizuya. Realizing he is now a loot piñata, Shizuya shoves the girl away and tells her to run. This glasses-wearing goon wakes up from his nap just in time to see this terrifying new arrival. But the knight completely ignores the conscious thug, his eyes locked on his one true target. Our boy, who is now facing down a very angry, glowing sword. With blinding speed, the knight slams into him, sending Shizuya crashing right through the sofa. Shizuya kicks back, trying to create some space, but this armored dude is relentless. This fight immediately blasts through the window, sending Shizuya plummeting out of the apartment. And now they are in a full-on freefall, with the knight chasing him down the skyscraper's face. Mid-air, Shizuya activates Rapid Mana, desperately charging up a counterattack. His opponent just plows straight down, sword first, ready to turn him into a shish kebab. Shizuya barely manages to land, sliding down the slick, rain-soaked roof of another building. His pursuer makes a much more graceful landing, splashing down without missing a beat. This armored knight just watches him scramble away, clearly enjoying this little game of cat and mouse. Shizuya is in full panic mode, sprinting away from this absolute monster of a player. He clutches his shoulder, admitting this is the first time he's been hit with such overwhelming force. Finally finding a moment's cover, he slumps onto some stairs, activating healing skills to patch himself up. He admits his custom build has one tiny flaw: his physical stats are absolute garbage compared to elite monsters. And speaking of elites, his vengeful pursuer is already closing in, stepping onto the stairs with purpose. This armored knight just looms at the bottom of the stairwell, radiating pure I am about to end you energy. Not waiting to get cornered, Shizuya fires off a sweep mana blast to see what this guy's made of. This attack connects, but the knight just tanks the hits like they are mosquito bites, absolutely zero effect. With a terrifyingly calm pace, the shadowy figure begins his slow, inevitable ascent up the stairs. He then fires back with a technical shot, a precise blast of energy aimed right at Shizuya's head. Before our boy can even react, the knight follows up with a powerful attack, closing the gap in an instant. A massive slash of blue energy tears through the air, aimed to slice Shizuya clean in half. He just barely dodges and continues his mad dash up the stairwell, trying to create some breathing room. Shizuya even throws a few shots over his shoulder, hoping to slow the guy down even a little bit. That is when he realizes the game's map system is useless here. It is 2D, so he cannot track vertical movement. This gives him an idea: use the stairwell's tight corners and multiple levels to outsmart his opponent. So he sets a little trap, pouring out a jug of something very flammable all over the steps. Leaping over the railing, he casts a fireball right at his trap because this stalker needs to go. This whole area just erupts in a massive explosion, engulfing the knight completely. It is so powerful it blows out the windows of the building, a pretty solid fireworks display. Landing safely below, Shizuya watches the inferno, hoping that finally did the trick. But of course, a silhouette just walks right out of the fire like it is a warm bath. This knight's eyes lock onto him, completely unfazed. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a problem. Turns out this unkillable knight is a priest class using Saint Breath, because nothing says holy like being on fire. Shizuya watches from above, wondering if this is just the first of many shadows coming for his head. His pursuer is already ahead of him on the stairs, firing off another energy blast with absolutely zero chill. Our boy finally admits this guy is on a completely different level than the cave monsters he is used to fighting. He recalls surviving the train incident only because he knew the enemy's skills and could use the terrain. But this new opponent is a whole different beast, and he will not be getting any second chances. Just then, a massive bolt of lightning cracks across the stormy sky, really setting the mood. Shizuya glances out the window at the storm, and you can practically see the gears turning in his head. A sudden spark of inspiration hits him. He has got a plan, and it is probably insane. Looking up the stairwell towards the roof, he decides it is time to try a new method. Meanwhile, the blue-haired girl is now out on the rain-soaked streets looking for him. She is completely drenched, calling out Shizuya's name in a desperate search through the downpour. Hearing the sounds of battle from the building, she starts to seriously panic about his safety. That is when she spots another shadow monster down the street, this one crackling with green energy. She immediately assumes it is a friend of the night because of course the Terminator brought backup. Realizing the situation is spiraling out of control, she feels completely helpless, wondering what to do. Then her eyes land on a nearby truck and a very dangerous idea starts to form. Without a second thought, she hops into the driver's seat, ready to cause some serious property damage. Since the monsters ignore her, she figures this is her one chance to actually contribute to the fight. Down below, the new shadow monster looks up, its glowing eyes locking right onto her. Uh-oh. This storm rages over the city, lightning cracking across the sky. Up on a skyscraper, Shizuya stands in the rain, ready for his final gambit. His stalker emerges from the stairwell, finally cornering him on the roof. That green glowing shadow the girl saw earlier also makes its grand entrance. Shizuya just smirks because his absolutely insane plan is about to kick off. Leaping down, the knight taunts that our boy has nowhere left to run. With a look of pure resolve, Shizuya commits to whatever he is about to do. A massive magic circle begins to form on the rooftop, centered right on him. It flares to life, runes glowing as he channels an incredible amount of power. He is pulling in energy from the storm itself, preparing one hell of a move. In a flash, his arm morphs into a massive crystalline spear aimed at the heavens. But a new player drops in, demanding to know who the knight is targeting. This newcomer slams a giant hammer down, completely interrupting the standoff with a massive crash. Its impact sends a huge shockwave across the rooftop, scattering water everywhere. This wielder is a pink-haired girl, and she has got her eyes locked on the knight. She tells the armored stalker to forget Shizuya and fight her instead. But the knight just boasts that thanks to his comrades, he has reached a new level of power. Our new arrival is clearly not impressed, saying she is just really irritated by this whole scene. Without another word, she charges forward, ready to throw down with the hunter. And while they are busy, Shizuya uses his arm as a grappling hook to make a tactical retreat genius. While the rooftop brawl kicks off, Shizuya makes a tactical retreat, swinging between buildings. This pink-haired warrior watches him go, calling him creepy for lacking any fighting spirit. Her attention then shifts to the other combatant, wondering who this other wild person is. Turns out Shizuya did not get far at all. He is already fighting that green glowing shadow on another roof. This new stalker immediately lands a clean hit, catching our boy completely off guard. Shizuya desperately parries with his blade arm, locked in a brutal clash with the new enemy. This green shadow poses dramatically on a thin wire, looking like it is enjoying this a little too much. It follows up with a massive attack, forcing Shizuya to scramble back to avoid getting crushed. But any damage he inflicts is instantly repaired as green energy stitches the shadow's armor back together. Yep, it is that Saint Breath skill again. Apparently these stalkers have a dedicated healer on call. Shizuya realizes he is just getting worn down because his opponent basically has an infinite health cheat enabled. With its regeneration in full effect, the green shadow lunges forward for another relentless assault. Our boy knows his only chance is to somehow sever that healing connection, but he has no idea how. This green knight closes in, raising its weapon for what looks like a fight-ending strike. Suddenly, the green aura vanishes, and Shizuya realizes the priest must have been taken out. Looking down at the street, he spots a vehicle and wonders if his companion could be responsible. And she absolutely is. The blue-haired girl is in the driver's seat, celebrating a successful mission. She confirms the monsters still ignore her, even as the original knight stumbles in the street nearby. With a wicked smile, she grabs a lever, ready to cause some more chaos to help out. Through her windshield, she sees the priest get blasted by an energy beam from an unseen attacker. And just like that, the green shadow gets zapped by that same mysterious energy beam. From her driver's seat, the blue-haired girl watches this new development in total shock. This mystery shooter is revealed, a long-haired, masked individual with a glowing blue weapon. This new person stands in the rain, casually remarking on how ordinary citizens are resisting now. Glancing at the girl, he notes that meddling is not his style, a likely story. This now unmasked priest seems absolutely livid, grumbling about his team's lack of coordination. With everyone else busy having a villain monologue, Shizuya makes a break for it across the rooftop. That escape plan is immediately cancelled as the original Blue Knight crashes down, blocking his path. He is already powering up another Leon Slash, and our boy looks like he has seen a ghost. With no time to think, Shizuya throws up his blade arm, barely deflecting the attack. This knight does not miss a beat, immediately following up with a solid kick to the jaw. Sent staggering back, Shizuya can only watch as the knight stomps, shattering the rooftop. Yeah, he is in deep trouble and he absolutely knows it. With zero hesitation, the armored stalker closes the distance for the final blow. Shizuya acknowledges that was a close call, another second and it would have been over. It finally clicks that these guys are essentially fighting like high-level Azure LAN players. Not only do their stats increase, but their skills improve with every clash, making a long fight a death sentence. As the knight lunges again, Shizuya forms a new plan. Buying time is somehow his only way to win, and a wicked smirk appears on his face because he's got one last trick up his sleeve. Because that storm he was eyeing earlier is about to become his brand new weapon. A massive bolt of lightning slams down, turning the armored knight into a human lightning rod. His status window confirms it, paralyzed and near death, which is a mild way of putting it. Even his sword shatters from the sheer force of the impact, completely and utterly wrecked. With a final crash, the once unstoppable stalker collapses onto the rain-soaked rooftop, defeated. Shizuya gloats that the knight lost because he failed to understand the battlefield, a classic rookie mistake. This time, he says, the knight did not lose to him, but to the basic rules of this world. He then gives a quick science lesson on lightning rods, complete with a very smug thumbs up. To avoid getting fried himself, he is just casually hovering on little magic platforms, problem solved. Our boy admits it was a total gamble and he was one bad dice roll away from being toast. But he took the risk anyway, raising his crackling blade to end this chase for good. Standing over his fallen enemy, Shizuya prepares to deliver the final, decisive blow. But the status window shatters and the body does not vanish. Wait, that is not how this game works. Before he can process it, a massive energy beam slams into the downed knight from off-screen. A voice from the darkness calls out, telling the knight that is enough of this human hunting nonsense. And then the knight's body just explodes in a shower of pink energy and shattered rock. This pink-haired girl stands in the crater, hammer in hand, declaring that running away solves nothing. Her eyes are glowing with an intensity that says she is only just getting warmed up. She proceeds to channel the storm's lightning directly into her giant hammer because of course she does. With a massive swing, she unleashes a devastating wave of electrical energy across the roof. A wild grin spreads across her face as she declares this is how a real fight should be. This masked shooter tells his pink-haired partner, Satsuki, to call off the chase. She is absolutely livid, demanding to know why they are letting their target just get away. He explains their own elite monster just retreated, likely on orders from high command. Besides, he's got his own issues, glaring at the blue-haired girl like he is about to pop a gasket. Satsuki then gets her own message. The boss is calling for a full team assembly, effective immediately. Meanwhile, the blue-haired girl realizes these hunters are a whole different class of fighter than Shizuya. Eavesdropping, she learns they have more comrades and are meeting up at a point B1. But her first priority is still finding Shizuya and making sure he is not a smear on the pavement. Elsewhere, our boy is seen taking a long fall from a skyscraper. A creepy bird monster with a glowing red eye watches him plummet because this night needed more monsters. We then flash forward 107 hours to a city in ruins, with military helicopters swarming the sky. A distress signal comes in, giving one of the choppers coordinates for an immediate rescue operation. This pilot accepts the new mission but warns HQ he is not equipped to handle a lot of casualties. Command confirms it is just 2 people, 1 male and 1 female, so get a move on. As the helicopter approaches the source, the pilot tries to verify who sent the signal. It swoops down toward a rooftop, kicking up debris as it prepares to land for the survivors. And there they are, Shizuya and his companion, looking incredibly relieved that help has finally arrived. This blue-haired girl cautiously peeks into the chopper, demanding to know who these people are. This confuses the pilot, who says he was told the rescue was for a man and a woman. He was expecting 2 people named Takuto and Akina, leaving Shizuya completely floored by the reveal. Aboard the chopper, the pilot eyes Shizuya and the girl, trying to make sense of this whole mess. Shizuya explains the people they were looking for fought alongside him and gave him their radio. Their ride soars over the ruined city, heading deeper into the absolute disaster zone. With a grim look, the pilot admits there has been nothing but bad news from the front lines lately. He plans to drop them at a shelter, but Shizuya immediately wants to know the pilot's real destination. After a well-timed sneeze from the girl, the pilot decides to spill the beans on his not-so-classified mission. He is headed to Kaijo, the front line against the shadows, and Shizuya's brain starts connecting the dots. Our boy immediately demands a ride there, shocking the pilot who knows it is a one-way trip. This is not a rescue, it is a reinforcement run, and the pilot is pretty sure they are not coming back. He gives Shizuya one last chance to back out, asking if he truly understands the stakes. But the blue-haired girl chimes in, saying her comrades are there and she can handle herself, thank you very much. This pilot just shrugs and agrees. Anyone who survived this long must have some skills, right? His companion then asks if these comrades are really worth dying for, getting a little personal. She immediately starts teasing him, guessing his super important person must be a girl. Shizuya admits one of them is, but says others are heading there too, playing it cool. With a sly look, she says she is jealous he has so many friends to worry about. Then she completely changes the subject, yawning that the helicopter noise is putting her to sleep. She promptly borrows his shoulder as a pillow, not really waiting for an answer. Shizuya just rolls with it, closing his eyes for a moment of peace. which is immediately shattered as his eyes fly open in sudden, wide-awake panic. As they approach the front line, the pilot starts screaming that they are already under enemy attack. His companion immediately asks Shizuya what is wrong, sensing his sudden, intense focus. Shizuya is absolutely rigid, his eyes wide with the dawning horror of what he has flown into. He looks out the window to see a full-blown war zone with explosions lighting up the night sky. Down on the streets, an entire military battalion is unloading everything they have on an unseen foe. But their assault is cut short as a massive summoning circle engulfs the entire unit. Blue energy crackles and surges, forming the outline of some new, terrifying monster. From the light emerges a massive armored beast summoned right into the soldiers' ranks. This military redirects fire, launching a volley of missiles at the creature on the rooftop, and they score a direct hit, engulfing the target in a massive fireball, easy peasy right. Nope, a winged monster flies out of the smoke, confirming its asterisk target has been eliminated. This creature then snatches their helicopter right out of the air as the pilot screams for help. In the next instant, the chopper is crushed into an exploding ball of fire. Back at some command center, their signal blinks out, completely lost from the grid. Elsewhere, a shadowy figure plays a game of chess, its giant hand looming over the board. It calmly picks up one of its own knight pieces, holding it delicately, and then crushes it into dust without a second thought. So much for that unit. This true scale of the invasion is revealed with a colossal monster towering over the city. Another giant joins the rampage, smashing through buildings with a massive spiked mace. Watching the city burn, Shizuya admits to himself there is another reason he had to come to Kaijo. Shizuya reveals his secret reason for coming here, a detail he has kept completely to himself. It clicks for him that this city, Kaijo, is a real-world version of Azure Land's first fortress, which means that Clock Tower is the infamous Gloom Tower from the game's epic battlefield. And yep, it is a dead ringer for the in-game version, just with way more actual doom. Meanwhile, the rest of the city is just getting absolutely hammered by explosions and fire. One of the soldiers is having a full-blown meltdown, realizing their modern weapons are a joke. Because yeah, machine guns do not do much against giant, flying fantasy monsters. Inside another chopper, their targeting systems are completely fried, forcing them to aim manually. A different guy notes the enemy already knows all their tactics, making military intel useless. From a monitor, he watches the chaos, thinking about the grind it took to get his secret weapon. Suddenly, he grabs a silver-haired girl named Kakon completely out of nowhere. With zero explanation, he asks if she can whistle while dragging her towards the open door. She is understandably confused by the sudden request but confirms that she can, and then he just shoves her out of the helicopter. Chivalry is officially dead. She plummets towards the ground, screaming her head off as he watches from above. This guy just looks on with this intense, "Trust me, I have a plan" expression. His plan arrives right on cue. A massive armored dragon swoops in to catch her mid-fall. With his friend safe, he summons a massive glowing blue sword to join the fight. Now standing on the dragon's back, he looks every bit the epic tier player he is. Back in Shizuya's ride, the pilot and the girl are stunned, recognizing this new arrival. This guy who pushed Kakon out of the chopper screams for someone to run away now. Up in the sky, another player with angel wings activates a brave flag to buff nearby allies. One of the monsters gets absolutely blasted by a beam from the heavens, a skill with a 5-second cooldown. This whole sky is just a chaotic mess of missiles and monsters trading blows. Realizing he cannot do much from up here, the dragon rider leaps off his mount to join the ground war. His landing plan is immediately interrupted by a stray blast that sends him flying. Now he is just free-falling into a swarm of enemy dragons, correctly assessing that this is in fact bad. This entire flock of monsters immediately swarms him, eager for an easy meal. He braces for the inevitable, looking like he is about to become a human-sized chew toy. A massive dragon lunges forward, its jaws wide open to snap him right out of the air. But at the last second, he is yanked to safety as the beast chomps down on nothing. A hand grabs his wrist, pulling him out of the jaws of death. It is Kakon who swooped in on her own dragon to return the favor, for the whole shoving her out of a helicopter thing. He is stunned she came back, but she is like, "Duh, I came to save you." She admits he scared her, but she trusted his plan to have her whistle for her dragon. A smaller, shadowy dragon flies nearby, presumably the one she summoned with her whistle. Now on the armored dragon together, he says her pet will help, but he is confused why it is acting up. This dragon suddenly lurches, nearly throwing Kakon off as she lets out a terrified scream. She is completely baffled, saying the dragon was perfectly obedient just a moment ago. He explains the problem. The dragon is loyal to her, but it definitely does not see him as an ally. This dragon rider realizes her mount is a griffin type, a creature of virtue that instinctively protects its master, which explains why it is going absolutely berserk trying to shake him off its back. This beast slams right into a skyscraper, clearly not a fan of its +1 passenger. Her companion gets pinned by the dragon's wing, taking the full bone-crunching force of the impact. As the dragon flies off without them, he desperately yells for it to wait. He tells Kakon he will handle it, stepping up to try and reason with the angry mount. His big plan is to guilt-trip the dragon by saying it is scaring her, which somehow actually works. Kakon then takes over, calmly reassuring her pet that the guy is a friend and to please land. This dragon rider is just floored, watching her talk down a monster like it is a disobedient dog. His mind is blown. He has never seen any player who could actually communicate with monsters. In the game, these things were just walking loot bags, not potential conversation partners. It clicks for him that only a true irregular like Kakon could pull something like this off. He even admits to himself that she might be an even more special existence than he is. Her words work perfectly, and the dragon gently drops them both into the ocean below. Now soaking wet, he thanks her as she shouts a fond farewell to her departing ride. Her smaller dragon flies off across the full moon, its rescue mission officially complete. She asks why he is so quiet, but he just plays it cool, still processing her insane abilities. After their own harrowing crash, Shizuya and his companion finally wash up on the shores of Kaijo. Gathered around a fire, the blue-haired girl asks him what he is going to do now. Shizuya grimly admits he underestimated the enemy. The shadows have already overrun a key district. Looking out over the ruined cityscape, the sheer scale of the destruction is staggering. This blue-haired girl immediately cuts to the chase, asking if his comrades are in the overrun Kadu district. Without a word, Shizuya turns to leave, his grim expression saying everything she needs to know. She grabs him, insisting it is too dangerous, but he is not about to sit still while his friends are in trouble. With an exasperated sigh, she calls him out for being impossibly stubborn at the worst times. Shizuya says he has a plan, and it absolutely does not involve her going in his place. Her brilliant counter is that she is immune to shadows, so it is actually safer for her to go flawless logic, really. He points out her immunity is not guaranteed forever and demands a description of his friends instead. This tense stare-down ends with her smug little smirk, knowing she has already won this argument. Shizuya just lets out a sigh of pure defeat, realizing he is going to have to show her. As he pulls out his phone, she leans right over his shoulder, noting their last meetup was 2 years ago. This screen shows a group photo, and she immediately starts making fun of his friend's awkward poses. Her eyes lock onto a silver-haired woman in the picture, completely captivated by her elegant aura. Shizuya clarifies that Hitomi is not the prim and proper lady she is imagining, which only piques her interest. Now totally invested, she promises she will find them, leaving him wondering what she has figured out. He quickly logs the meeting place on his phone but warns her not to get overconfident about her special trait. Completely ignoring his caution, she grabs his hand and starts dragging him forward, time to move. After finding a rooftop vantage point, she lets out a casual yawn, totally unbothered by the chaos. Then she looks to the sky and lets out a sharp whistle, summoning a small dragon from the clouds. Shizuya just watches, thinking to himself that she is adapting to this whole apocalypse thing way too quickly. Shizuya reveals he sent her off because she is a key part of his upcoming plans, but his real motive is to keep her out of the crossfire for what is about to happen. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, the military rolls out a convoy of tanks. And they are immediately met by a full-blown cavalry of demonic fantasy knights, so an even match. This unholy cavalry charges the tank line, lances crackling with some seriously bad news. This entire street erupts into chaos as these medieval nightmares just steamroll modern weaponry. A commander desperately yells orders to lure the enemy into a nearby park to gain an advantage. One of the soldiers lines up a perfect sniper shot on a creepy, robed archer in the woods. Except this thing has a sixth sense for danger, locking eyes with the sniper from afar. It instantly draws back a glowing energy arrow, preparing a counterattack of its own, and the soldier gets absolutely vaporized by a magic arrow before he can even fire. Suddenly, Shizuya swoops in, kicking the monster away from another unsuspecting soldier. Wasting no time, he whips out a pistol and unloads on the archer at point-blank range. His shots land true, sending the shadowy creature reeling back from the unexpected firepower. Standing over the defeated monster, the grateful soldier asks what unit our boy is from. Shizuya completely ignores the question, just asking for the nearest command center while reloading. A flicker of grim recognition crosses his face as he puts the pieces together. He realizes the command center is located at Kaijo Station, a major hub in the real world. This station corresponds exactly to the Nest Core, a key strategic point from the game. Convinced he can meet the goddess of humanity there, he takes off at a sprint and immediately eats dirt. Shizuya decides to keep his special powers under wraps, pretty sure humanity will not throw him a parade. Down below, soldiers are storming the subway station, guns at the ready for a sweep and clear. Believing the area is secure, our boy heads inside, figuring the trains should still be operational. Automated turrets immediately lock onto him, triggered by his very presence, so much for a warm welcome. With guns blazing from the ceiling, he makes a desperate leap to avoid getting turned into Swiss cheese. In a flash, he materializes a crystalline lightning shield on his arm to block the incoming barrage. This bullets just harmlessly deflect off his magic armor, which is definitely not standard issue. Channeling his rapid mana, he prepares to return fire with a little something extra special. His energy blast completely vaporizes the defense systems in a spectacular, very unsubtle light show. This victory is short-lived, as a whole squad of soldiers now has him dead to rights. Trying to de-escalate, he throws his hands up, insisting he is one of the good guys. These soldiers are not buying it, demanding to know why he set off the shadow-exclusive alarm. This is news to Shizuya, who is shocked that humanity already has dedicated anti-monster tech. He keeps pleading his case from a distance, but the soldiers are understandably not in a trusting mood. Suddenly, his expression hardens as he senses a new threat approaching from the darkness. Looking down the tracks, he sees the demonic cavalry charging in, realizing this is very, very bad. While the soldiers are focused on him, the cavalry opens fire, shredding the entire squad in seconds. These demonic knights just steamroll the human defenses, a tide of pure nightmare fuel. Realizing this station is a lost cause, Shizuya deflects a blow while eyeing his only escape route. He makes a mad dash and leaps onto a departing train, getting out of there by the skin of his teeth. Back on the train, Shizuya parkours between cars, lightning still sparking around him. He lands with a thunderous punch, channeling pure energy right into the train's roof. This whole train is now his personal high-speed taxi, hurtling through the tunnels. Inside the command center, a radar screen lights up. An unknown target is beelining for them on the subway. Completely oblivious to his new fan club, he just focuses on riding this lightning-charged train. And there is his welcoming committee, a full squad of soldiers ready to shoot first and ask questions never. A soldier immediately draws a bead on him, laser sight locked and loaded. With the first shot fired, a bullet zips straight towards Shizuya's head, which he just casually swats away with his magic arm guard because of course he can. A cocky smirk spreads across his face, realizing his power is way beyond what these guys are used to. This whole squad responds by unloading on him, turning the tunnel into a bullet hell shooter. Shizuya correctly assesses that it is hard to have a civil chat while being ventilated. And the real trick is breaking this siege without accidentally hurting any of these trigger-happy soldiers. Just then, a new player enters the game, calmly ordering everyone to stand down. Our boy is completely thrown for a loop as the gunfire actually stops. This guy holding a tablet explains it away as a simple alarm malfunction. Yeah, sure it was. Then a blonde guy in a slick white suit descends the stairs, announcing that our boy is not an enemy. In fact, this impeccably dressed stranger declares that Shizuya is one of the good guys. And Shizuya's just left standing there, wondering who the hell this guy is and how he knows him. Elsewhere, military helicopters patrol the skies over a government building hours after the invasion began. At the station's frontline command, the military has set up a serious-looking base of operations. This guy in the slick white suit strolls right up, already knowing Shizuya's full name, not creepy at all. He casually asks if our boy's plan was to just massacre the entire welcoming committee. Shizuya plays it cool, saying he just wanted to cooperate while trying to place this guy's familiar face. But the blonde guy points out that, just a moment ago, those soldiers were trying their absolute best to kill him. With a smug grin, he confirms they were dead serious about turning Shizuya into a fine red mist. Shizuya stays quiet as his new friend drops some wisdom about how sincerity does not stop bullets in wartime. Just then, a stern-looking official in a trench coat arrives, calling the blonde guy Representative William. This official asks if Shizuya is another one of William's troublemakers, which William playfully denies. Putting on a show, William drapes an arm over Shizuya, introducing him as a special guest who arrived off-grid. This old man peers through his shades, asking if Shizuya is also an Oathkeeper, whatever that is. William smirks, grabbing Shizuya's magic arm and commenting on his familiarity with game-like terms. Their little chat is cut short when the official announces a big meeting in 1 hour with the SEAM group. William cheerfully asks how many people from their side can join the party. This official shuts that down immediately, maximum 2 people allowed. Back in a private room, William's first order of business is telling Shizuya to get naked. He then points to a fresh suit, telling him to shower and change into something more presentable. William roasts him for planning to meet military command looking like he just crawled out of a subway fight. Shizuya agrees, but only after they exchange some information, admitting he is curious about William too. His mind races, recalling that the SEAM Group is a 1,000-year-old top-tier global organization. Shizuya recalls the SEAM Group's massive influence, dabbling in everything from finance to high-tech research. They have got their hands in robotics, mechanical science, and basically every other cutting-edge field imaginable. And oh yeah, they also created Azure Land, the very game this whole apocalypse is based on. So Shizuya wonders just how much this megacorp actually knows about the world ending. William claims they know less than you'd think, since the Shadows have thrown global networks into total chaos. He casually mentions his people came up with the name Shadows, while Shizuya gets ready for his debrief. Behind the shower door, Shizuya asks if the turrets targeted him because he was flagged as a shadow. William confirms it but says it is no big deal, he can just add Shizuya to the system's whitelist. Our boy is pretty shocked they have built a whole anti-monster detection network in just a week, but William explains it is like a beta test, claiming the overwrite of reality actually started 2 weeks ago. Suddenly, a holographic interface pops up right in front of him, mid-shower, talk about invasive tech. Apparently, they'd been running secret tests in remote locations and sharing data with global powers. Shizuya puts it together. They knew this was coming but kept the public completely in the dark. With a smug smile, William justifies it by saying a public warning would have just caused confusion. While washing up, Shizuya realizes that if William is naming the monsters, the world's elite must know the link to Azure Land. Still, the military's hostility suggests they do not fully trust the SEAM Group, hinting at a more complex game. Shizuya calls him out, suggesting maybe this chaos could have been avoided with a heads-up, which William deflects. His excuse is they only had basic intel on the enemy, with no idea about their tactics or timing. Now clean and getting dressed, Shizuya seems to be processing all this new, shady information. He notices a symbol on the coat, wondering if it is the mark of the Oathkeepers the official mentioned earlier. William explains the Oathkeepers are basically a temporary anti-monster task force he is helping to establish. He then throws some shade, admitting their fancy tech is not nearly as effective as Shizuya's little subway rampage. Shizuya, however, decides to stick with his own coat. Guess he is not a fan of the pre-packaged hero look. And William's totally fine with it, playing the super chill, no-pressure kind of corporate overlord. But now it is quid pro quo time, demanding Shizuya explain that very conspicuous monster arm of his. Our boy plays it mostly straight, admitting he only knows this apocalypse is a carbon copy of Azure Land. As for his arm, he shows off the menacing-looking appendage, claiming it is the result of touching a shadow signal, a very technical term for I poked a thing and it went weird. William immediately corrects his gamer terminology but decides he likes the name Signal anyway, so generous of him. Getting way too close for comfort, he inspects the arm, fascinated by how Shizuya is mainlining power straight from the source. William then taps a device on his wrist, probably checking his "Is my guest a nuke?" meter. This guy seems a little annoyed by the reading, whatever it is. Now all dressed up, Shizuya announces it is time to go talk with the stubborn old men in charge. William agrees to chat more later, using Shizuya's full name like they are old pals who definitely do not want to dissect each other. And the penny drops for Shizuya. This guy is William Seam, as in the Seam. His mind flashes to a magazine cover, confirming William is the heir to a massive global conglomerate. Not just an heir, but a child prodigy who took control of the Seam group and also created Azure Land. Shizuya immediately calls BS internally. No way the game's creator knows so little about this invasion. With a sinister glint in his eye, William proves Shizuya's point. This guy is not to be trusted for a single second. A world map reveals the invasion is global, but William's voiceover confirms their main target was this city all along. William explains the Shadow's master plan was to attack everywhere at once, spreading humanity's forces way too thin. This was all just a feint to weaken the main city's defenses for one massive, concentrated strike. Meanwhile, in a military briefing, they are patting themselves on the back for luring the enemy's main force away. A female officer points to a map, declaring the initial invasion a failure, which feels a little premature. Inside the command center, all the top brass are gathered around a holographic city, looking very serious. And just as they are feeling good about themselves, William raises a hand to interrupt, with Shizuya right behind him. This stern official in the trench coat looks deeply annoyed, asking what he could possibly want now. William, ever the showman, strolls in saying he just has a simple question for the room. He then asks if any of them can respawn, which earns him a room full of blank, confused stares. With a condescending little smirk, he clarifies that while they cannot, the Shadows most certainly can. Tapping his wrist device, he brings up a hollow display, explaining they have analyzed what makes these monsters tick. First up is their outer body, which he casually mentions is pretty much immune to conventional weapons. But underneath all that armor is an energy circuit, their true form, which is the real problem. He calls this core a signal, throwing a little look back at Shizuya for coining the term earlier. This signal lets them absorb surrounding matter to just regenerate their bodies on the fly. So even if you completely shatter their exterior, as long as that core exists, they will just get back up. This officer cuts him off, saying his research is fascinating, but they need an actual strategy, not a science lesson. At that moment, Shizuya steps forward, deciding it is his turn to speak. He lays it out cold: Shadows are not human, so their entire military playbook is completely useless here. And the official finally understands, realizing that even with a 1,000 to 1 advantage, they are totally screwed. This trench coat official admits that in a war of attrition, they are on a very clear path to losing. William then schools the room on basic strategy, explaining that the longer this drags out, the more screwed they are. But Shizuya's gut tells him William is not just giving friendly advice, he's got a hidden agenda for this attack. And then it clicks for our boy. This whole invasion is following the exact same script as the Gloom Tower raid from Azure Land. His mind flashes back to the game, drawing a hard line between a virtual raid and this real-life apocalypse. In a game, you can ignore the trash mobs because the only thing that actually matters is taking down the final boss. This goal was always a speedrun to the boss, a quick kill for the win, and a victory screen simple. Applying that same game logic, Shizuya knows exactly what the Shadows are about to do next. A sudden, terrifying realization hits him as all the pieces fall into place. Meanwhile, William is selling his big plan to go on the offensive and smash the Shadows' respawn points. He delivers this do-or-die strategy with the most punchable, self-satisfied smirk you have ever seen. Cutting him off, Shizuya points to a single building on the map, looking for someone named Rin. Desperately, he scans the holographic city, trying to pinpoint her exact location. A nearby officer identifies the building for him. It is the headquarters of the Ritun Corporation. That name hits him like a ton of bricks, confirming his worst fears. His mind races. The location of Ritun's HQ is the exact same spot as the Gloom Tower from Azure Land, which can only mean one thing: the president of Ritun Corporation is *, the final boss of the Gloom Tower. And not just any boss, he is the freaking Thunder Demon Lord from the game. This entire corporate skyscraper is about to become a high-level dungeon, right in the middle of the city. Snapping back to reality, he grabs William, frantically asking about the defenses around that building. William yanks Shizuya back by the collar, clearly not a fan of his little outburst. Getting right up in his face, the CEO's cool and casual demeanor is completely gone. He basically tells Shizuya to shut his mouth for a second, so much for being special guests. Meanwhile, the trench coat official just says he gets the gist of their go-on-offense plan. Taking a sip, he promises to pass the important opinion along, which is military for get lost. And just like that, the meeting is over and the top brass walks out, completely dismissing them. Walking down the hall, Shizuya immediately calls William out for his terrible communication skills. He points out that William's grand strategy conveniently left out any plan for actual defense. William puts on a show of regret, admitting he probably should have coordinated with our boy first. His excuse is that the military would not have believed the whole game is reality story anyway. Plus, he argues you do not need to share all the info with people who are just pawns in the game, ouch. But Shizuya fires back, asking who is supposed to defend Ritun if not the actual army. This just earns him a slow, incredibly smug little smile from William. Looking out the window, William asks with maximum condescension, who said it is only the military? Outside, a trio of helicopters touches down on the station's helipads. From one of them emerges a squad of what can only be described as high-level player characters. Shizuya watches this private army assemble, realizing William has way more resources than he let on. He asks if this is William's personal team, looking a little stunned. A masked figure appears behind William as he introduces the Oathkeeper unit he talked about earlier. With a final chilling smirk, he calls them his trump card for protecting Ritnan Tower. Shizuya questions if this tiny squad is enough, but William just pats him on the shoulder, telling him not to worry. Apparently, his research shows they are all on Shizuya's power level, which means they are also rocking signal abilities. William offers to make introductions, but not before adding that Shizuya's power is still way more intriguing. And our boy's face says it all. He is not buying this guy's whole friendly routine for a single second. Stepping out, William introduces Shizuya to the team as their newest Oathkeeper, like he even had a choice. Shizuya immediately clocks some wild-looking gear, realizing they are literally recreating items from the game. It is like a whole party of high-level players just logged in, looking ready for a raid. William then gets down to business, asking the masked captain for a status report on their last mission. This objective was achieved, the captain says, but there was a little trouble on the way. This gets William's attention, who calmly asks him to elaborate on what kind of trouble they ran into. It was nothing major, he claims, though the red-headed guy in the back looks absolutely furious. This captain explains that the vice-captain Hashida got spotted early, but luckily there were no casualties. Hashida immediately explodes, screaming at his captain for snitching on him right in front of the boss. But the captain is ice-cold, saying he just reports the facts and lets the boss make the judgment. And William finally has enough of the bickering, roaring at them to just shut up. He then dismisses the squad, telling them they did a good job and should go rest. With a chilling turn, he reminds Hashida that he is easily replaceable before giving them an hour break. Yikes. This fuming vice-captain storms off, vowing revenge under his breath, which is always a great sign for team morale. William lets out a long sigh about the burdens of leadership, playing the world's tiniest violin for himself. For a tense moment, Shizuya and the squad captain just stare each other down, sizing up the new competition. After the world's worst team meeting, Shizuya and the masked captain have a silent, broody stare-down. Trailing behind William's squad of anime protagonists, Shizuya is clearly wondering what he has gotten himself into. But a voice calls out to him on the helipad and he turns to see a very familiar silhouette. It is a guy carrying a giant ship's wheel on his back, because why not bring your weirdest MMO cosmetic to the apocalypse? He pulls off his mask with a grin, asking if Shizuya seriously does not recognize him. And our boy is absolutely stunned. It is his old acquaintance, Meiji. Meiji is all smiles, asking what brings him to this end-of-the-world party. Shizuya just vaguely explains that William recruited him, which is a very polite way of saying I was cornered. This makes Meiji wonder if the big boss has taken a special liking to him, and Shizuya's internal alarms are blaring. Meiji seems to be comparing his own situation to Shizuya's, a little concerned. He then asks with genuine worry why Shizuya is getting mixed up with these people. Realizing this conversation needs privacy, Shizuya suggests they move somewhere they can actually talk. They end up at a neon sports bar, which somehow has better security than the military command center. Inside, the two of them finally sit down for a much-needed catch-up over drinks. Meiji gives his backstory. He almost died, but William saved him and made him an ally. But Shizuya glances at that angry redhead Hashida sulking in the corner and thinks this alliance looks pretty miserable. Meiji just sighs, admitting that being an Oathkeeper comes with a lot of baggage. He then chugs his beer, trying to brush off the obvious team dysfunction with a smile. Spilling the tea, he reveals Hashida was demoted for getting his team killed, and now he's got a grudge against Meiji for taking his spot. Shizuya cuts right to the point, asking the one question that matters: how did they all awaken their abilities? Meiji drops a bombshell. The Oathkeepers did not awaken their powers, they had shadow circuits surgically implanted into them. He explains the massive downside. Their MP is super low and they can only recharge by going back to Seam's labs. Shifting gears, he asks Shizuya what exactly William told him to get him all the way out here. But their chat is interrupted by Hashida, the angry redhead who is pissed about an outsider in their exclusive bar. Meiji smoothly plays the authority card, telling him the boss personally summoned our boy. This just makes Hashida even madder, accusing Meiji of hiding behind the boss and threatening to crush him. He then gets right in Shizuya's face, paranoid that the new guy is here to steal his vice-captain position. Meiji finally loses his cool, shouting at Hashida for daring to question their leader's judgment. At that exact moment, a new pair of fancy shoes steps into the escalating bar fight. A woman in a futuristic helmet and a man in a crisp white suit arrive, and she sighs that Hashida is fighting again. She points out the drama, confirming that this is just another Tuesday for this dysfunctional team. This man in white calmly grabs Hashida's arm, effortlessly stopping the confrontation. Meiji tries to talk some sense into him, pointing out that a healer fighting a close combat mage is just plain stupid. But Hashida attacks anyway, lunging across the room while Shizuya just watches the chaos unfold. With a dramatic scream, Hashida unleashes a massive fireball because why solve problems with words? As Meiji scrambles to dodge, Shizuya silently wonders how this hot-headed idiot has managed to survive this long. This man in the white suit has finally seen enough, roaring for them to cut it out. He lays down the law, reminding Hashida that using his signal here will get him court-martialed. Hashida desperately tries to justify himself, accusing Shizuya of being a spy since everyone's protecting him. But the man in white simply puts a hand on Shizuya's shoulder and says, "He is my friend," shutting the whole room down. This man in white gives Hashida a look that could freeze hell, telling him to never speak that way again. and Hashida immediately folds, bowing under the sheer pressure of his boss's authority. Turning back to the others, the boss is all smiles, asking if everyone's okay after that little disagreement. A relieved Meiji whispers that it is a good thing the boss stepped in before Shizuya had to act, but Shizuya is still trying to figure out why Hashida was so hostile toward him, a total stranger. Meiji explains it is just good old-fashioned insecurity. Hashida's terrified of losing his vice captain's spot. With a new operation starting soon, he says they cannot afford to let this drama slow them down. This boss just laughs it off, saying Hashida is just hot-blooded and will be useful when it counts, which is super reassuring. Shizuya just gives a little smirk and says he understands, playing the part of the compliant new guy perfectly. Getting real chummy, the boss tells Shizuya to get ready because his power is needed for the next mission. This makes Meiji super happy, saying he will feel safer with Shizuya there, but our boy is clearly not sold. Shizuya immediately cuts through the fluff, asking what exactly this next mission is. This job is to protect a written executive, and Meiji points out the building is right across from the Gloom Tower. Leaning in, he warns that this feels just like their old game raid with a high chance of an elite monster ambush. Then he drops the big one. The boss is personally joining this operation as they head out to their car. Meanwhile, back with the military, the trenchcoat official gets a status update. All his units are assembled and ready. His subordinate reports that William's Seam group is gathering the Oathkeepers, confirming they are making a move. This official scoffs, pissed that William is using the army as a shield while he runs his own secret schemes. She confirms his orders. No preemptive strikes, just suppressive fire, and keep a close eye on William's crew. With the clock ticking, he declares the operation starts in 20 minutes, basically daring William to make his move. This team gets a grim briefing. They are heading deep into enemy territory where shadows can appear at any second. A scout radios in that the subway entrance is clear, giving them a way into the hot zone. With the all clear, the whole dysfunctional squad assembles, ready to move out on the boss's command. Hashida immediately spots Shizuya and starts whining about why that scum is on the mission, classy as always. This masked captain shuts him down, reminding him their only job is to follow the boss's orders, not question them. Another teammate warns Hashida to back off, pointing out that Shizuya seems to be friendly with the captain. Of course, Hashida just mutters that he'd totally beat Shizuya up if the boss was not protecting him, a real tough guy. This boss's right-hand man offers to educate the loudmouth, which sounds like a fun HR meeting, but the boss just waves him off, saying there is no time to worry about it now. Meiji quietly asks Shizuya if he is okay, but our boy just plays it cool, telling him not to worry. Internally, though, Shizuya realizes he is still completely out of the loop on this whole operation. They finally arrive at the Ritun building, the designated battleground for their shadow-slaying adventure. This subordinate clarifies the mission. It is not about killing everything, it is about finding a specific target. Shizuya and Meiji stand together, looking like the only two competent people in this entire squad. Our boy just gives a confident nod, totally ready to get this over with. Meiji steps up, practically glowing as he declares he will handle his part of the plan. Shizuya, Meiji, and the ever-fuming Hashida step into the light, officially starting the mission. Summoning a sword, Shizuya quickly calculates that his base power is more than enough for the initial threats. He wisely decides to keep his true signal abilities under wraps to avoid any more drama. And it is a good thing he is prepared, because armored monsters are already lurking on the rooftops, waiting for them. Just as Meiji predicted, armored shadows are already perched on the rooftops, waiting for them. From their high vantage point, the monsters watch the squad walk right into the kill zone. Meiji immediately spots the danger, shouting for everyone to stop and get into formation. In a flash, the shadows dive from the building, descending on the team like a ton of bricks. With the fight on, Meiji starts barking orders, directing his teammates to hold the line. He calls out to a guy named Roger as the whole squad prepares for the incoming assault. This Roger, armed with a comically large sword, squares up against a shadow looking unimpressed. He charges in with a glowing fist, screaming die. At the top of his lungs, real subtle guy. This impact is a massive flash of light as he clashes head-on with the armored beast. With another roar, Roger keeps up the relentless assault, not giving the monster an inch. Meiji dryly comments that Roger's a nice dude until he picks up a sword, then he is a total psycho. Meanwhile, another teammate named Nokia lands a clean hit, showing off some solid teamwork. A third member, Yuki, uses a shadow as a launchpad for a slick aerial attack. And just like that, Roger stands victorious as the monster dissolves into nothing, elimination complete. From the sidelines, Shizuya compliments Meiji on how much his command skills have improved. But Meiji just deflects, saying he learned from Shizuya and is still a rookie by comparison. Shizuya gives him a quick pep talk, reminding him that the team's trust is what makes him their captain. This seems to hit home as Meiji takes a moment to absorb the weight of his new responsibility. Shizuya then clarifies the strategy. Meiji's team can handle the regular shadows just fine. But if an elite shows up, half of them are dead, and right on cue, Yuki is in trouble. Just as Shizuya predicted, Yuki gets absolutely blasted from the sky, because a massive, shield-bearing elite shadow just appeared to ruin everyone's day. This elite monster's power sends Roger flying, forcing a desperate call to fall back, but even a direct hit just bounces right off its ridiculously oversized shield. Seeing this, Meiji orders the team to advance anyway, trying to regain control. But then a red flare in the sky catches Hashida's attention, another party crasher. Meiji panics, realizing they are dealing with noble reinforcements, which sounds super bad, and a new hooded figure appears, ordering a retreat as he summons a literal meteor. This guy is casually dropping a city block-sized fireball right on their heads. Of course, Hashida refuses to be upstaged, deciding he will take it down himself. What a hero. Up above, the hooded mage basically dares anyone to try and stop him. So Hashida powers up his own flames, ready to fight fire with slightly smaller fire. Meiji can only watch in horror, calling him an idiot for trying to face that head-on. Meanwhile, the giant flaming rock of doom continues its scheduled descent, getting closer and closer, about to wipe the whole squad off the map. And Hashida finally realizes he is completely outmatched, his tough guy act shattering instantly. That is the cue for Shizuya to finally move, a blur of speed with glowing red eyes. He shoves Hashida out of the way just as the attack is about to land, then unleashes a massive beam of energy that slices the meteor clean in two. Meiji catches the ungrateful loudmouth, who just tells him to shut up after being saved, classic Hashida. With Hashida being carried out like a sack of potatoes, Meiji screams for a retreat, but Shizuya just gives a smug little grin, saying a noble class enemy is no match for him. He powers up his sword with crackling blue energy, activating some kind of banner skill, then unleashes his Leon Slash, sending a massive wave of power at the meteor-dropping mage. And just like that, the hooded enemy is bisected, dissolving into nothing, problem solved. Meanwhile, from a window high above, someone has been watching the entire fight unfold. Back inside, the boss checks on Hashida, who is getting healed up from his slight twist of almost dying. But their breather is cut short by a giant spiked ball smashing through the window. New enemy alert. This gray-haired teammate glares, ready to intercept the new threat head-on. It is another new enemy, a redhead wrapped in chains who is controlling the massive weapon. Yelling out a name, the gray-haired guy leaps forward to protect his comrade from the attack. He throws up his hands, creating a glowing green barrier to block the incoming hit. The shield holds, but the force sends him flying back, knocking over the guy he was trying to save. And things just get worse as a giant armored golem with a freaking chainsaw steps into the room. This new monster is fully armored, holding the same kind of spiked mace as the last attacker. Its weapon of choice is a nasty-looking flail, ready to smash some skulls. Staring up at the behemoth, one of the squad members identifies it as a sea golem. Shizuya points out the obvious flaw: a security golem would not attack on its own initiative like this. His teammate agrees, confirming that these things are basically just puppets and never act alone. This boss then clarifies that this is not a normal golem, but a special type controlled by the nobles. So the boss explains these golems are disturbers, normally just harmless construction bots with no attack power. But some clever players figured out how to use special jewels to basically wear them like a mech suit. This lets them jack into the golem system, turning a glorified forklift into a war machine. Shizuya immediately clocks this as the work of a rare T-jewel, something an elite shadow would definitely have. And that means there is a whole elite party of shadows nearby, not just the one golem. Right on cue, the giant spiked mace comes flying back at them at 1,000 miles an hour. That gray-haired shield bro screams for everyone to hit the deck, which is solid advice. Acting fast, Shizuya shoves the guy out of the way just in the nick of time. He tells them all to retreat while he holds the line, saying he will buy them some time. Our boy then summons a massive ice wall, taking up a defensive position all by himself. Bracing against the crystal shield, he gets ready to tank whatever that golem throws at him. As his teammates are dragged away, one of them yells that his shield will not hold. Thanks for the vote of confidence, dude. With everyone gone, Shizuya just smirks, thinking now he can finally go all out without holding back. Meanwhile, the sea golem readies its flail, which starts glowing with some nasty blue energy. Shizuya gets launched into the air, dodging or getting knocked back by the sheer force. Winding up, the armored behemoth prepares a massive swing with its chained weapon. Not one to just defend, Shizuya charges up his own attack, a glowing orb called Lamp Arrow. This golem unleashes its flail, sending the spiked ball hurtling through the air. Its weapon flies across the room, a blur of blue energy and impending doom, and the golem stands there, having just thrown everything it has at our boy. This golem's attack connects, sending a massive shockwave right at Shizuya, but our boy just surfs on a crystal shard, popping into a defensive stance like it is nothing. His team yells from a safe distance, telling him to run before more elites show up. That advice comes a little late as the spiked mace smashes into his ice wall, and the golem makes it clear no one's getting away that easily. It looms over Shizuya, declaring this is where the fight ends, one way or another. Shizuya calmly calls for backup from Meiji, who immediately agrees to help. Meiji then orders Hashida and another teammate to provide support as well. Of course, Hashida's idea of support is to try and blast Shizuya with his own flames. What a team player. He unleashes a massive firestorm, screaming for it to blow everything away. Shizuya just casually sidesteps the attack, flames licking at his heels. He even throws a little smirk over his shoulder, completely unfazed by the betrayal. This shield bro grabs Hashida, who whines that he cannot aim because Shizuya keeps moving. Shocking, I know. He gets a final warning, drop the grudge, because Shizuya is literally their only hope right now. Watching from the sidelines, the squad finally gets it. He is risking his life to protect them. Meanwhile, the sea golem powers up, ready to unleash another devastating blow. This sheer force of its aura shatters the ground, but Shizuya holds his position. A teammate sends a haste buff his way, giving him a much-needed speed boost. Now glowing with power, Shizuya braces himself for the golem's incoming attack, and he counters with his own volley of golden energy arrows, striking true. Pulling out a magic book fragment, Shizuya faces down the massive golem, ready for round 2. This unleashes a fiery attack that looks suspiciously like a flaming battering ram. This golem's chest armor takes the hit, but it seems to be holding up just fine. As the monster swings its flail, Shizuya just surfs on his ice platform, totally unbothered. He finds the perfect distance, activating a rapid mana skill for his next big move. His attack blasts the golem's face, but he knows the real weak point is somewhere else entirely. This impact is a massive explosion of light, shattering the monster's helmet into pieces. Its head armor cracks under the pressure, unable to withstand the direct hit. And underneath all that plating, a glowing core is finally exposed. Shizuya smirks, having found the disturber's true weak point, the one he was aiming for all along. With a technical shot, he fires a precise beam of energy right into the opening. This resulting explosion is absolutely blinding, a direct hit right on the core. Even Shizuya gets knocked back by the sheer force of the blast. He lands with a smug look, thinking this was way easier than in the game. What a flex. Looking at the defeated golem, he wonders if he is actually stronger now than he ever was before. His teammates can only stare in shock, unable to believe he took it down all by himself. From below, the squad cheers him on, calling out his name in victory. But Shizuya's already busy looting the corpse, fusing weapons and unlocking new skills. His team just watches, completely baffled by what he is doing up there. They yell at him to get down, but our boy just calmly explains he is collecting the drops, a true gamer to the end. Shizuya wonders if his team can even use the items he is collecting, a rare moment of teamwork. Elsewhere, a new masked brawler and his cyber ninja partner show up, looking ready for a fight. And in yet another location, a smug-looking blonde dude sends his subordinate off on an errand. This scene cuts to a ruined hallway, with whispers revealing that certain powers were not just a coincidence. We are in a flashback now, as a man explains it all started when they discovered the link between shadows and their world. To study this link, they launched the Prometheus Project, complete with a very official-looking Turtle King seal. This project involved capturing shadows and studying them in labs with military backing. Totally ethical, I am sure. Their first genius idea was transplanting shadow circuits into humans, which went great if you ignore everyone dying instantly. So they pivoted to animals, eventually succeeding with a giant tortoise to create a stable circuit for people. This legendary turtle became known as the Priest, the source of all these bootleg powers. Back in the present, Shizuya's new friend explains that these powers are defective compared to his own natural ones. Shizuya is skeptical, questioning how a massive research project like that could happen in just 1 month. This guy just shrugs, admitting he is just a pawn and does not know the whole story. He then asks about Shizuya's own circuit, but our boy keeps his god-tier powers a secret from everyone. Turns out their gear is just a cheap imitation, while Shizuya can actually integrate items into his core system. But there is a catch to his power. Fusing items gets him tracked by the original owner for 7 days. His companion grimaces, calling the mechanic hate stock, which sounds exactly as fun as it is. This is why he joined the Seam group. They provide protection in exchange for his help on missions. He then reveals the Shadow's game-like movements are because a group called Ritun used their data without permission. Shizuya connects the dots. Ritun leaked the data, and now the Shadows want to erase them to cover it all up. With the debrief over, they finally get a move on. But Shizuya has one last question for his new shield bro, Meiji. He asks if the Seam group is really an organization worth trusting with his life. Meiji just laughs it off, admitting he has got his own personality flaws to worry about. In his view, he is just a salaryman now, and the Seam group is a working person's dream. Elsewhere, a smug blonde dude in a white suit taunts some guys he just beat down. One of his masked goons tells the whiner to shut up and stop adding to the shame. Another teammate tries to point out they were all saved, but the blonde boss, William, silences him for a phone call. William just walks off, giving curt, obedient replies to whoever's on the other end. He then promises everything's on track to complete some kind of sacrifice, which sounds super ethical. Meanwhile, someone is scoping out the Ritun group's headquarters from a distance. This scout, Kekitsubata, reports to his boss that there are no shadows in the area. He adds that the lights are off, probably a trick to make the building look abandoned. Satisfied, the blonde leader concludes that the coast is clear for now. With the recon done, the whole squad gathers up to finally infiltrate the building. From a nearby window, however, a hand releases a swarm of tiny surveillance drones. It is the redhead from before, and she has spotted the mice sneaking into her trap. And yep, we are right inside the Ritun building, their main target. This infiltration team finds the lobby has been split into 2 separate paths, so the boss splits them up, ordering them to clear 40 floors and meet at the top. Simple. One of the infiltration teams reports the 5th floor is clear, but the building feels way too quiet. Meanwhile, the other squad radios in that the 20th floor is also a ghost town, suspiciously empty. Back with Hashida's team, he confronts his captain, the guy with a giant ship's wheel on his back. Our favorite hothead complains about the slow floor-by-floor search, wanting to just rush the top. This captain orders him to lie on the report, but Hashida suddenly grows a conscience and refuses. This defiance earns him a very angry look from his superior, who is clearly not used to being questioned. With a death glare, the captain makes it clear that insubordination is not on the menu today. He grabs Hashida's radio, accusing him of trying to use the boss to threaten him, but their little power struggle is interrupted by the radio sparking and buzzing like crazy. This captain immediately realizes their comms are being jammed, screaming that it is a trap. Took you long enough, genius. On floor 26, Shizuya's team is having a much calmer, more observant time. Suddenly, Shizuya holds up a hand, telling everyone to stop what they are doing. He tells his squad he heard a sound from the adjacent room, putting everyone on high alert. His teammates are skeptical, claiming they did not hear a single thing. But Shizuya is positive, insisting he recognized the voice of his old pal Meiji. William, the blonde leader, just brushes it off, but Shizuya presses his ear to the wall to check. He notes how thin the wall feels, though William just blames it on shoddy construction. Shizuya is not buying it, knowing something is fundamentally wrong with the building's layout. He points out the ceiling is half a meter shorter than it should be for a standard office. and he remembers the emergency stairwell had the correct height, meaning these floors are a facade. Shizuya confirms his theory to William. Yep, there is a hollow space right there. Immediately, the blonde leader tells his subordinate to contact Sato, looking dead serious. But the radio is completely jammed, which is never a good sign in a sketchy building. Realizing they have been played, William screams for the entire team to retreat. Above them, the ceiling sprinkler system looks ominously ready for action, and the floor drops out from under them with William yelling it is a trap, you think. From the ceiling, a thick white gas starts flooding the entire room. Shizuya instantly recognizes it as sleeping gas, desperately trying to hold his breath. Even our boy knows this is a really bad spot to be in. His teammates are already out cold as the redhead boss orders them all captured. Waking up to a blinding interrogation light, Shizuya gets a very unwelcome greeting. This redhead Ayakawa demands to know who he is and what he is doing here. Shizuya, tied to a chair, just deadpans about her terrible hospitality, zero fear, all sass. She just leans in, completely unfazed by his smart-aleck attitude. Getting right in his face, she asks about his right hand, clearly knowing something's up with his powers. She then loses her cool, boasting that they have their own connections to the shadows. Suddenly, a voice from outside the door orders her to release them immediately. William and his bodyguard step in, introducing the young master and warning her not to mess with them. Ayakawa just smirks, wondering why a big shot is slumming it with her unless he has a secret agenda. This bodyguard snaps back, telling her to mind her own business, which only escalates the tension. Ayakawa storms off with a final threat, leaving her bodyguard to just sigh at the sheer amount of drama. While getting untied, Shizuya learns Ritun's president is an ally, meaning the redhead's ambush was totally off the books. This President Genoza then dismisses his men for a private chat with William about their little infiltration plan. Peeking into the hallway, Shizuya sees the internal chaos is because people are running wild after the shadows appeared. He then asks one of the guards for a favor, a quick search of the player database for an old friend. Shizuya drops the name Hien Hitomi, and the guard's face just completely freezes in shock. This guy immediately panics and sprints down the hall, yelling that he cannot search for that name, not suspicious at all. Our boy tries to call him back, but the dude is already long gone. Of course, Ayakawa pops up again, demanding to know why he is looking for someone so important. Shizuya just calmly explains he came all this way to check on his in-game friend's safety. She actually recognizes his full name, surprised he'd risk his entire life just for Hitomi. In a surprising twist, she hands him a keycard, telling him Hitomi is on the 33rd floor. This elevator zooms right past the 33rd floor, heading up to 37 instead. Stepping out, Shizuya finds himself in a massive, empty room, immediately sensing another trap. He recalls how different Hitomi looked in real life compared to her flashy in-game avatar. Finding a door, he knocks and calls out her name, really hoping she is on the other side. And she is. Hitomi opens the door, absolutely stunned to see Shizuya standing right there. It is revealed she is in a wheelchair as she asks how long it has been since they last met offline. She invites him inside her apartment for some tea, just like old times. While pouring, she casually asks if her dad was the one who brought him here, hinting at a much deeper connection. Shizuya sips his tea, connecting the dots and asking if her dad is the President Genoza. She confirms it, and our boy wisely decides not to press the very obvious family drama. Hitomi insists she is fine, launching into her backstory about being a tomboy who loved boxing. In a flashback, her mom pushed stuffed animals while her dad encouraged her hobbies, causing endless fights. But her dad's secret support led to a boxing accident that left her paralyzed from the waist down. This guilt and pressure became too much for her mother, who ended up taking her own life. Feeling responsible, Hitomi changed her last name, and her dad just let it happen, a silent testament to their broken family. To cope, she got into a game, and her dad, in a totally normal parenting move, just bought the entire company for her. He brought her here a year ago promising a cure, but it has just been a gilded cage ever since. Shizuya is apparently her first visitor, and he realizes her tragic story is identical to the lore of an in-game tower. Looking down, he understands the intense security is not for the company, it is all for her. This means Genoza is the Thunder Demon Lord from the game, but our boy questions how a CEO has that kind of power. He theorizes Genoza has been preparing for the Shadow Invasion for a whole year, which is a terrifying thought. This story then flashes back to the game's Gloom Tower, a major dungeon in Azure Land. We get the lore drop. The tower's boss, the Thunder Demon Lord, was once a simple merchant. This merchant used his own body and charm to get in with nobles, securing wealth and connections. His business boomed, but in his pursuit of power, he completely neglected his own family. By the time he noticed his daughter was sick with cancer, it was already irreversible. Desperate to make amends, he learned magic and hired a magician to entertain her. Turns out that magician was a demon in disguise, which explains a whole lot of things. Turns out the magician was actually a full-blown demon lord. What a great judge of character, Dad. This demon then opened a gate, unleashing an army that completely overran the continent. Back in the present, Shizuya speculates the Shadow's boss is targeting the rich and powerful, making Genoza a prime target. He looks Hitomi dead in the eye and tells her straight up her father is in danger. And right on cue, a massive explosion rips through the building, shaking them both. This wall caves in as a squad of armored shadows comes crashing through to ruin the party. One of the intruders lunges forward, its fist glowing with some seriously bad intentions. Shizuya immediately grabs Hitomi's wheelchair, yelling that they need to escape right now. Meanwhile, Genoza is having a very tense sit-down with William, our favorite blonde blowhard. William offers a mysterious circuit for all of Ritun's data, but Genoza scoffs at the terrible deal. So William goes straight for the low blow, claiming this circuit is the only way to cure Hitomi's legs. Genoza just takes a drag from his cigarette, reminding the kid that Ritun is his entire life's work. He then points to a screen showing shadows attacking his staff, but William swears it is not his fault. Sure, Jan. William gives him a final warning, saying this is his last chance to sell out his company. But Genoza calls his bluff, wondering why he'd want to buy a company that is about to be worthless. Annoyed, William threatens to make Genoza and his entire company disappear if he does not cooperate. He turns to make a dramatic exit, feeling pretty good about his villain monologue, but a massive crack from the ceiling stops him dead in his tracks. A giant mechanical fist smashes down and grabs him, with William screaming Genoza's name in pure panic. Genoza, now kneeling by the briefcase, calmly explains that he never makes a deal where he does not profit. Genoza stands over the briefcase, looking completely unfazed by the chaos he just unleashed. He coldly tells William to struggle all he wants. This is his house after all. Suddenly, a massive blue energy barrier forms, sealing off the entire room. William's bodyguard realizes they are completely and utterly trapped, which is just fantastic planning. Panicking, William screams for his subordinates, his whole cool guy act totally shattered. Elsewhere, his two top guys, Sato and Rollins, are sprinting down the hall to respond. They immediately clash with Genoza's security mechs, who were clearly waiting for them. But William's crew makes short work of the robots, leaving them in a pile of scrap metal. Sato, the older bodyguard, demands to know where Genoza has disappeared to. Now free from the mechanical fist, a furious William vows to hunt down the president for this stunt. His men debate saving the employees but decide Genoza's betrayal means they are on their own. Meanwhile, the actual employees are in a full-blown panic, shoving their way into an elevator. This door's close, revealing not a safe exit but a dark, ominous elevator shaft. And an armored shadow drops in from above, ready to greet the terrified passengers. It unleashes a devastating magic cannon blast, turning the escape route into a death trap. Back with Shizuya, he is calmly leading Hitomi and some guards toward a potential exit. These guards are losing it, wondering where their boss is and assuming he just ditched them all. Our boy gets on the radio, trying to call William for backup to evacuate the civilians. But William is already running, telling his team to leave the employees. Zero heroism, all business. Taking command, Shizuya tells the guards to prioritize their own safety and meet at the garage. Back in the elevator, the guards are turning on Genoza, screaming that he abandoned his own daughter. One of them even threatens Hitomi directly, who desperately promises she can get everyone out. Meanwhile, Shizuya has to ask William for help, and the blonde jerk is just loving every second of it. In a much quieter part of the building, Genoza walks calmly down an empty hallway. He meets up with Ayakawa, coolly announcing he has secured the circuit from their guest. She confirms his suspicions. William's buyout was a total bluff. He is just after their game data. Turns out, the enemy's whole plan is to use special circuits to download game powers into real people. Genoza is floored by the insane revelation. They are trying to bring max-level characters to life. Ayakawa explains their experiments are failing due to data shortages, which is why they targeted Ritun. This penny finally drops for Genoza. William's endgame is basically world domination through cheat codes. With this knowledge, he is suddenly super confident that he can save Hitomi and the entire company. Ayakawa, holding all the cards, just asks him what his next brilliant move is. His master plan is to use the circuit on Hitomi, give her the powers, and have her save the day. But as he reaches for the briefcase, Ayakawa stops him, insisting she check the circuit first. Genoza is confused, asking if she thinks William brought a fake. "Oh, you sweet, naive man." She just gives him a smirk that screams, "I have been playing you this entire time." And right on cue, a glowing spear materializes, aimed directly at the stunned president. He can only scream her name, finally realizing he has been completely and utterly betrayed. Ayakawa goes full villain, asking why his daughter deserves the prize after all her hard work. To punctuate her point, a whole squad of armored goons drops from the ceiling to back her up. A top security guy tries herding employees to the garage, screaming that the elevators are a death trap. His men just stare in panic, barely managing to agree to the new, terrible plan. Meanwhile, William watches Ayakawa absolutely wrecking his men on a security monitor. And then a mysterious woman in a wheelchair is brought to him, saying she has fulfilled her part of their deal. She offers to lead him straight into some kind of secret room. William tries to get under her skin, hinting that this whole thing is about her father, but she just coldly dismisses him, wanting nothing to do with her dad's drama. Elsewhere, Genoza confronts Ayakawa, demanding she return the circuit like he is still the boss. She just scoffs, asking if he seriously thinks she is taking orders from him anymore. With a maniacal grin, she slams the device into a console, ready to become a superpowered keeper. Except the installation immediately fails, database not found, which is just beautiful to see. Ayakawa is completely stunned, her grand plan crumbling into a big fat error message. Turns out Genoza was one step ahead, revealing he'd already extracted all the data from the device. She absolutely loses it, realizing he has been suspicious of her for years. He just smirks back, saying her betrayal means they are even, a real pot meet kettle moment. Then the president reaches for a gun because board meetings are officially over. Ayakawa opens fire first, forcing Genoza to make a dramatic dive through a glass wall. Her armored goons are still standing by, ready to back up her little coup. As he is falling, Genoza screams at her, questioning if she has completely lost her mind. He tries to bargain for the device, but she just mocks him, pretty sure he is not walking out of this alive. Ayakawa's goons are standing guard when a massive explosion blows out the ceiling above them. Through the shattered glass, a blue armored shadow drops in, sword already glowing with bad news. This new arrival immediately skewers one of the goons, so much for being the elite backup. Elsewhere, Genoza is facing down a different enemy, coolly aiming his pistol as it falls. He unloads a round with a face that says, "I am so tired of this hostile takeover." His target is another armored knight that just came crashing through the window to say hello. And of course, the bullets just spark harmlessly off its chest plate, which is just fantastic. Jinoza's tough guy facade completely shatters, now begging the thing to stay back. This knight just looms over him, entirely unimpressed by the CEO's sudden change in tone. It turns out there are two of them, and they have got him perfectly cornered in the office. Hiding behind a flimsy partition, he desperately asks what they are even doing here. This armored duo just stands there in menacing silence, clearly not in a chatty mood. One of them, an archer, casually draws back a bow, charging up a glowing energy arrow. That arrow then detonates down a hallway where Shizuya is trying to lead an escape. Our boy instantly recognizes the lamp arrow skill from the game. This is a high-level threat. Back in the office, the other knight swings its massive sword down at a terrified Jinoza. He just flails on the ground, firing his gun wildly at the ceiling in pure panic. With an archer above and a swordsman in front, his odds are looking spectacularly bad. He closes his eyes, whispering a final apology to Hitomi, ready to check out. This knight's sword, glowing with rapid mana, swings down to end it all. And what do you know, the shadows have level tags and class names just like in the game. Suddenly, Shizuya gets backup from a new guy with some seriously questionable headgear. Our boy immediately calls the play, telling his new friend to handle the archer while he draws aggro. This new ally Meiji gets right to it, casting a spell to whip up some golden chains. His chains wrap around the big knight, locking it down completely. This frees up Shizuya to go flying at the archer with his energy blade. With his name being called out, he looks completely locked in on the target. Meanwhile, Meiji is just floating there like a budget angel, holding the knight in place. Shizuya lands a perfect kick, sending the archer crashing to the floor. He then unleashes a Leon slash on the now free knight, finishing the job. With the enemies down, Meiji drops his shield, casually asking if Shizuya is safe. He then smugly declares this is nothing compared to the actual game. What a pro gamer move. But just as they are celebrating, a voice calls out to a defeated-looking Jinoza on the floor. It is William's whole crew, and they have brought that mysterious woman in the wheelchair with them. Jinoza is completely floored, demanding to know how William found him here. He crawls toward the wheelchair, holding up the circuit and promising Hitomi she can walk again. William just smirks, telling his guy to let Jinoza lower his guard, because of course he does, but the woman just coldly tells him to use the device on himself. Jinoza, still thinking it is his daughter, desperately begs her for a chance, and she absolutely explodes, screaming that this will not bring her mom back. Yeah, that is not Hitomi. Shizuya recalls the woman's past trauma, realizing she is still trapped by that curse. Just then, a frantic call comes in. The underground garage is swarming with shadows. William immediately panics, screaming into his radio that he is coming to help. As Shizuya wheels the woman away, a defeated Jinoza is left to stew on the floor. But the old man is not done yet, revealing he knows a shortcut to the garage. That shortcut is immediately introduced to a massive, wall-shattering explosion. William's men are sent scrambling for their lives as the garage entrance is blown wide open. Inside, it is a total war zone, with his guards desperately trying to hold off the shadow onslaught. One of the armored goons gets absolutely blasted by a huge fireball out of nowhere. And look who it is. Shizuya drops in, apologizing for being late to the party. Elsewhere, a quick check on the map confirms that Exit A is completely unusable. William, ever the brilliant strategist, splits his forces to make a run for Exit B. One of his guys throws up a sanctuary shield to block a heavy hit from above. But another guard runs in, screaming that Exit B is also totally blocked by shadows. Great plan, boss. That same guard is then immediately impaled by a beam of light for his troubles. William just stares as his man drops, completely baffled as to why the shadows are here. His tactical map shows them all converging on one spot, making him wonder if they know about the data. Meanwhile, Shizuya is just torching everything in sight with a massive fire blast. Our boy suddenly connects the dots. The shadows were lured here by that lamp arrow from earlier. And William gets it too, smirking as he realizes their real target is Jinoza. Elsewhere, William is absolutely losing it on a video call, demanding to know why his defenses are failing. He is screaming at a whole boardroom of military brass who just toss the blame right back at him. One of the generals just sips his coffee, coolly pointing out they cannot help if he is being so secretive. This guy then slams his mug down, telling William to stop trying to privatize the military, a clear power play. Back in the garage, a defeated William finally gets it. The military was targeting him and his operation all along. On screen, he announces their solution, indiscriminately bombing the entire area in 20 minutes. His aide is horrified, asking if he is really going to sacrifice everyone inside just to save himself. But William has an idea, offering to trade more information to get them to back off. This general seems to pause, weighing the offer for a moment. And with a smug grin, he agrees, saying live assets are more useful than dead ones. What a guy. So now William's crew has 15 minutes to escape, splitting up to hit 2 different exits. This blonde jerk immediately starts screaming for his men to protect him while they charge for Exit B, so much for being in control. His whole squad, including Shizuya and Meiji, get the message and prepare for a fight. One of the guys, a hot-headed fire user, unleashes a massive spiral of flames down the corridor. His attack completely engulfs one of the armored shadows, seemingly taking it out. Standing in the inferno, he tells his captain he can handle this section alone, no problem. Right on cue, 2 more shadow knights come charging straight through his firewall, completely unfazed. Our fireboy's cocky expression instantly vanishes, replaced with pure shock. He barely manages to throw up a sanctuary shield as the knights swing their blades down. His captain grabs him by the shirt, screaming at him for being an idiot and trying to go solo. Our hot-headed fire user has a sudden crisis, realizing this is his first time protecting someone. This captain just screams at him to survive first before he worries about his character arc. Shizuya, on the other hand, is busy charging up a massive lightning attack to hold the line. With a shout, he unleashes Brave Flag, flooding the entire corridor with supportive energy. Turns out it is a massive Aya buff, juicing up the whole team's speed, defense, and HP. Now supercharged, the whole squad agrees to take down the enemies in one big push. Everyone immediately clashes with the knights, a flurry of glowing blades and coordinated strikes. A masked ally confirms the plan, ready to dive right into the thick of it. That same fire user from before absolutely unleashes, vowing to go completely wild. Another one of his teammates lands a devastating blow, sending a knight flying back. Above them all, Shizuya dives in with another Leon Slash, cleaning up the remaining knights. From a safe distance, the woman in the wheelchair and her dad watch the carnage, looking impressed. This dad awkwardly tries to play matchmaker, calling Shizuya a good kid he totally supports now. He then promises that if they get out of this alive, he will back whatever she wants to do. She just gives him a stone-cold whatever, clearly not buying this deathbed conversion. William is also watching from above, admiring the team's perfect coordination like he orchestrated it. He's completely sure he can keep our boy under his control. Famous last words, buddy. An aide tries to warn him about Shizuya's unknown circuit, but William is not worried at all. Suddenly, military helicopters swarm the building because this situation was not complicated enough. A soldier inside gets the order to provide covering fire, tasked with creating an escape route. This military's covering fire begins, raining down a storm of missiles on the city streets. In response, a massive blue energy beam shoots up from the ground, ready for a fight. It slams directly into a Shadow Knight, blowing it to pieces with a final, agonizing scream. A wide shot reveals the military's true plan, Nemesis removal in 5 minutes, a city-wide bombing. On a monitor, the smug general confirms they have got 5 minutes to get out or get vaporized. William is completely panicking, screaming at his team to just hold on a little longer. Down in the garage, his men are desperately fighting off knights while he watches from a safe distance. One of the squad uses a swap mana skill, zipping through the chaos to clear a path. And there it is, Exit B, looking like the pearly gates at the end of a very violent tunnel. They arrive to find it suspiciously empty, wondering if the military actually helped. Oh, you sweet fools. Right on cue, a new, much bigger shadow with a giant axe emerges from the smoke. This one's a shadow magician, rocking a fancy green cape and a staff that just screams boss fight. Shizuya immediately recognizes the enemy type, but finds it very suspicious that it is all alone. This magician does not waste any time, charging up a massive fireball in its staff. It then unleashes a whole volley of them, turning the entire exit corridor into a death trap. One of the guys helpfully points out they are being attacked with fire, in case anyone missed it. Taking charge, Shizuya tells everyone to escape while he handles the big guy alone. He dashes straight through the explosions, completely unfazed and focused on his target. With a rapid mana skill, our boy fires a concentrated beam of energy right at the magician. This beam streaks across the garage, about to make contact and end this little standoff for good. But Shizuya's beam just fizzles out, leaving him completely stunned as the magician disappears. This shadow's counterattack is to just telekinetically chuck a whole car at his face. Our boy barely dodges as the vehicle explodes, engulfing the entire exit in flames. Turns out the magician prepped the area by pouring gasoline everywhere. This thing is a strategist. With no time to breathe, the shadow unleashes another massive fireball down the corridor. Shizuya gets a good look at the escalating chaos and correctly concludes that this is in fact bad. He leaps through the inferno, desperately trying to close the distance before he gets cooked. Winding up another Leon Slash, he swears he will not let the magician get away with this. But the resulting shockwave brings the entire ceiling crashing down in a storm of concrete. This rest of the crew, including the woman in the wheelchair, are forced to run for their lives. And the whole garage goes up in one final, massive explosion behind them. Now outside, Shizuya tells the survivors to escape while he and a few guards hold the line. Right on cue, a convoy of armored military trucks barrels down the street, looking like salvation. This woman's dad peers out the window, probably thinking they're finally safe. You absolute fool. He is already promising his company will rebuild the city because priorities, I guess. His little corporate speech is cut short by a sudden flash that has him screaming in terror. Their armored vehicle is immediately blown apart as a voice yells that shadows are attacking. A massive pillar of golden light erupts from the ground, incinerating everything nearby. Shizuya is thrown from the blast, landing hard next to the smoking wreck of their truck. Looking up, he sees a new figure in the rubble and realizes an elder shadow has arrived. Towering over the rubble, the elder shadow finally makes its grand, ominous entrance. Immediately, a squad of soldiers opens fire, hoping bullets will solve this giant armored problem. Their bullets just bounce right off its chest plate. Yeah, that was never gonna work, guys. Shizuya confirms what we are all thinking, noting that conventional weapons are totally useless here. Unfazed, the shadow grips its massive sword, preparing to show them what real power looks like. With a single swing, it unleashes a devastating energy wave that just obliterates the front line. This monster basically tells the grunts to step aside because they are hilariously outmatched. And right on cue, Shizuya and the rest of the A-team step up to take over the fight. That blonde guy from before starts yelling about this being their time of trial. Very dramatic, dude. One of the crew immediately throws up a mana shield, promising to block the incoming attack. He just barely manages to hold back the shadow's massive energy beam. That was close. Staggering back, the guy is completely floored by the sheer power of that one attack. Our favorite hothead from the garage jumps in, yelling that just defending is a losing game. Meanwhile, the Elder Shadow just calmly prepares another devastating blast, not even breaking a sweat. He dives right in, clashing with the beam in a massive explosion of fire and purple energy. Shizuya suddenly yells for everyone to stop, much to the confusion of his teammates. He points out that just blindly charging in is not a strategy and will get them all killed. This masked ally turns to him, asking if he actually has a better idea. Fair question. His brilliant plan is to just hold the line long enough for everyone else to escape. And with that, our boy charges up a rapid mana blast, ready to lead the charge himself. Shizuya's beam slams into the Elder Shadow as his team tries to coordinate their attack. This masked ally zips over its head, trying to draw its attention away from the main group. Another brawler-type teammate jumps in, taunting the monster to come get some real brave dude. A sword-wielding woman dives down from above, yelling about her treasured sword like it is an anime finale. But the Shadow just casually parries her big move with a lazy-looking spin, not even trying. Elsewhere, the Vips are making a break for it, thinking they are home free with their armed escort. This dad immediately goes back to sucking up, praising Shizuya like he has been his #1 fan all along. His daughter just gives him the silent treatment, completely over his transparent attempts to save face. Suddenly, the Elder Shadow just stops fighting and cocks its head, having noticed something. It has spotted the escaping civilians, who are now just standing in the middle of a destroyed road. Great spot, guys. This dad's smug expression vanishes as he realizes the giant Death Knight is staring right at him. With a flick of its wrist, the Shadow raises its sword to wipe them all out from a distance. Everyone collectively loses their minds, screaming as they see the attack coming for them. Just in the nick of time, Shizuya appears in the sky, ready to play hero once again. He dives in with a massive Leon slash, intercepting the Shadow before it can attack the civilians. His attack lands, but the recoil sends him flying back while the Shadow barely even flinches. This monster just stands there, completely unfazed by a direct hit from our boy's signature move. An ally points out the obvious. The Shadow has now locked onto Shizuya as the main threat. Now it is a proper standoff, just the two of them in the middle of the ruined city. Our boy gives it a death glare, accepting the challenge and ready for the duel of his life. A quick scan confirms the Elder Shadow is level 99. Our boy admits he'd last less than a minute. He briefly considers just distracting it and running for his life, which is honestly the smart play. But instead, he decides it is the perfect time to debut a brand new skill, because why not? With a new move called Overlift, he just rips a giant slab of building out of the ground. Shizuya then yeets this massive chunk of concrete directly at the Shadow's face. This monster just casually slices the boulder in half without even moving. What a flex. Blown back, Shizuya realizes he is completely outclassed in both speed and raw power. This Elder Shadow's glowing eyes lock onto him, clearly unimpressed by the rock-throwing routine. It immediately unleashes another devastating energy wave, carving through the city skyline. Our boy barely dodges the attack, correctly concluding that this is in fact very bad. That single slice just tears a skyscraper apart in a massive, explosive display of power. Standing in the ruins, the Shadow looks like it owns the whole damn city now. Meanwhile, the masked ally Kakitsubata seems to be in some serious trouble. A teammate is holding her up, telling her it is over as she is clearly fading fast. Our resident hothead yells that she cannot die yet because he still needs to beat her. Priorities, man. This silver-haired guy just tells them to get a grip, saying they need to retreat for the boss. But another masked teammate refuses, declaring he cannot abandon his comrades as an oathkeeper. His leader fires back that their duty is to the living, not to dying for a lost cause. He then calls it a shame, saying she had a much bigger role to play. Ouch, dude, cold. And we see the whole situation is a mess, with the Vips escaping while the squad falls apart. This silver-haired squad leader is stunned, asking his boss why he is still loitering in a war zone. At the same time, the woman in the wheelchair is having a full-blown panic attack, screaming for Shizuya. He coldly informs her that Shizuya is busy fighting the Elder Shadow and will not be back anytime soon. Her dad then offers some fatherly wisdom. In this world, people die, so get over it, I guess. She completely snaps, yelling that there is no way Shizuya would ever be defeated that easily. A new voice suddenly agrees with her as a pair of expensive-looking shoes walks into frame. It is William, holding a tablet and cheerfully announcing they have absolutely nowhere left to go. His little map shows their position is completely swarmed by shadows, all drawn in by the Elder. This squad leader demands to know where the military is, but William confirms they are totally cut off. Turning to the dad, William reveals there is a way out, but it requires his unique power. This guy immediately starts sweating, promising he will do absolutely anything to save his own skin. William is delighted, telling him to install some data into a circuit device to maximize its energy output. All the other survivors just stand there looking utterly hopeless, realizing this is the end of the line. With all the cards in his hand, William formally asks if he will provide the circuit for their plan. This guards finally turn on the dad, accusing him of being the target and dooming them all. After a moment of tense silence, the corporate stooge makes his desperate choice. He screams that of course he will provide the data, caving completely to the peer pressure. William smirks, saying that is just what he wanted to hear, then casually mentions they need a human sacrifice. This dad is understandably horrified and demands to know what the hell he means by sacrifice. William explains the energy is so unstable it might make the user go berserk, so someone has to be the guinea pig. William's plan is basically to have someone overload their brain with data, a guaranteed fatal process. He then asks the room who has the resolve for this little suicide mission, and the guards look terrified. Naturally, our resident hothead steps forward, claiming he is the only one fit for the job. His rival immediately tries to stop him, complaining that he cannot hog all the cool moments. This masked woman also volunteers, pointing out that women want to look cool too, Another teammate suggests they decide with rock, paper, scissors because this is a very serious situation. Finally, the silver-haired squad leader pulls rank, yelling that as captain, the glorious death is his. But the brawler grabs him, telling him to let someone else be the hero for a change. Just as they are about to throw down, a quiet voice says, "I will do it," stunning everyone into silence. It is the woman in the wheelchair offering herself up in the desperate hope it might let her walk again. Elsewhere, the elder shadow seems to sense this spike in drama, its vision overlaid with a red grid. This ground itself begins to shift and crack under some unseen, immense pressure. Raising its sword high, the shadow prepares to unleash another city-leveling attack. It slams its blade down, sending a shockwave of pure purple energy across the battlefield. Huge shards of the street are blasted into the air from the sheer force of the blow. This monster now stands on a newly formed stone spire, surveying its handiwork under the moonlight. A deafening roar echoes through the ruins, a clear display of its absolute dominance. Back with the Vips, her dad suddenly grows a conscience, telling William he cannot let his daughter go. She just gives him a determined look, saying her body might as well be useful for something. With chilling resolve, she declares that no one is more suited to be a human sacrifice than her. All the guards just stand there in stunned silence, completely thrown by this sudden plot twist. Suddenly, the woman in the wheelchair pipes up, insisting that everyone has it all wrong. Because look who just walked in, a battered and bruised Shizuya right on cue. His blonde teammate is ecstatic, shouting that he knew our boy was still kicking. Even the normally stoic squad leader looks completely floored by his dramatic return. Looking dead serious, Shizuya announces that only one person can actually save everyone here. This guards are, of course, completely lost, asking who the hell he could possibly mean. Shizuya's mechanical hand then points right at some random guy in a suit who looks very confused. This guy, apparently named Genoza, completely freaks out when he is identified as their savior. Our boy then drops the bomb, explaining that Genoza is the one the shadows are actually after. This dude immediately starts sweating, calling it all nonsense as he goes into full denial mode. In a split second, the guards' loyalty vanishes as they realize he is the reason they are all about to die. Shizuya just cuts through the noise, telling everyone to shut it if they want to live. This blonde teammate is confused, asking why Genoza of all people is the target. He starts explaining the big picture, noting how the shadows here operate just like the ones from Azure Land. In that game world, the final objective for any player is always the dungeon's main boss. Putting two and two together, the blonde guy realizes Genoza is effectively this area's boss. But he is still hung up on the logic, since Genoza is not military, government, or wealthy. This answer is simple. Shizuya explains he has what the shadows crave most, the game data. So the new plan is laid out. If they install the circuit and data into Genoza, he will become this area's official boss. Shizuya explains that Genoza has the Thunder Demon God data, the ultimate prize the shadows are hunting for. This news absolutely shatters Genoza, who collapses on the ground screaming in disbelief. This poor guy just stares into space, completely broken by the realization that he is the real target. His terror then flips into a full-blown meltdown as he starts laughing maniacally about karma. William tells him to get a grip, saying the future of Kaijo depends on him. No pressure, though. Finally coming clean, Genoza admits this whole disaster is his fault for what he did to Kaijo. Both Shizuya and his blonde teammate look on, a little stunned by this sudden confession. He flashes back to a year ago when a shady figure in a top hat offered him a fortune for the game data. Shizuya immediately connects the dots, asking if he actually sold out the game's secrets. Genoza admits he did, but claims he was suspicious and held back the most important data as a trump card. This blonde ally immediately asks for a description of this mysterious buyer, hoping for a lead. But Genoza says the guy was disguised, so he has no clue what he looked like. Super helpful man. Overcome with regret, he admits he was blinded by greed and should have reported the deal from the start. With a sudden burst of resolve, he tells everyone to leave the next step to him. Genoza then stands up and volunteers to be the human sacrifice, ready to atone for his screw-up. He walks over to the woman in the wheelchair, telling Hitomi he probably will not be coming back. She just stays completely silent, taking in his sudden decision to become a martyr. He clarifies that he is not asking for forgiveness, he just wants her to live through this. Looking back at him with a somber expression, she simply tells him to take care. William, seeing his plan fall perfectly into place, just smirks and says it is time to begin. With the whole squad watching, Genoza takes his place on the rubble, ready to become the world's most overqualified bait. This circuit transplant initiates, hooking the high-tech device directly onto his arm. This dude is immediately in agony as raw data surges through his entire body. Forced to his knees, the data installation continues. He is clearly having a fantastic time, and just like that, a system message confirms the installation is complete. He just sits there silently, his back to the group as everyone waits to see what happens next. Suddenly, his eyes flare with blinding blue light, showing the Thunder Demon God data is kicking in. A massive pillar of pure lightning erupts from his body, tearing straight into the night sky. Even Shizuya is completely floored by the sheer scale of the energy being unleashed. That power then explodes outward, shattering the ground in a massive electrical shockwave. Our boy screams for everyone to run, pushing Hitomi's wheelchair out of the blast radius. From a safe distance, the survivors watch the energy form a giant, crackling egg of pure power. Hitomi just watches in absolute horror, whispering her dad's name as he is consumed. Shizuya, on the other hand, is thrilled, yelling that the plan actually worked and Genoza is now the Thunder Demon God. William just smirks, smugly declaring that Genoza has carved his name into history. What a supportive colleague. Meanwhile, the energy egg just pulses ominously, a beacon of raw power in the ruined city. And of course, this little light show immediately gets the Elder Shadow's attention from across the city. Its glowing purple eyes lock onto the new power source, finally sensing a worthy challenge. Without hesitation, the monster launches into the air, charging up a devastating purple energy blast. Appearing right above them, the shadow is ready to kill its new rival before he is even fully baked. William screams Genoza's name, probably hoping his voice will somehow stop the apocalypse he just started. But the energy egg shatters, and from the crackling lightning, Genoza emerges completely transformed. He is now a full-blown deity, calmly telling the Elder Shadow that its turn is up. This brawler scoffs that Genoza has no fighting skills, but the masked woman corrects him, the data does. In his new godlike form, Genoza simply tells the others to stay out of it. He then summons a massive thunder hammer, telling Hitomi he is counting on her to live. She can only cry out for her dad, watching him prepare for a suicide mission. From her perspective, he is a lone god of lightning standing against the endless night. William, ever the manager, immediately starts barking orders for his guards to form a perimeter. This whole squad gets into formation, ready to fight off any smaller shadows that show up. Shizuya's blonde teammate turns to him, begging him to protect Hitomi no matter what. Our boy just gives a confident look, saying that was always the intention. Just then, the Elder Shadow plummets from the sky, a streak of purple vengeance. Its glowing eyes are locked on, aiming to crush this new challenger instantly. But Genoza meets the dive head-on, blocking the massive sword with his lightning hammer. This impact creates a blinding explosion, a raw clash between shadow and thunder. After the shockwave clears, the two titans stand facing each other, ready for round one. It is an epic stare-down between the newly crowned Thunder God and the King of the Shadows. Watching this insane power display, Hitomi asks in terror if they can possibly win. Shizuya just smirks, telling her of course they can, they have a boss on their side now. Genoza, now a full-on Thunder God, raises his hammer to bring the pain. But the Elder Shadow just slams its own weapon down, meeting the attack head-on. This monster is not just blocking, though it is doing something much worse. Its sword starts absorbing all that delicious lightning Genoza just summoned. In a classic no-you move, the Shadow redirects the entire blast right back at him, blasting our brand new god with his own attack, which is just embarrassing for everyone involved. Shizuya points out the obvious, explaining that Elder Shadows can absorb and reuse energy. Not wasting a second, the monster dives in for the kill, claws extended. Genoza looks completely stunned as a massive blade fills his entire field of vision. And just like that, the sword goes straight through him, lifting him into the air. Hitomi can only watch in absolute horror, screaming her head off. This blonde teammate panics, asking why their new god is losing, and Shizuya explains he is still a noob at this. He immediately asks what the plan is now because this one is clearly not working. Shizuya, our fearless leader, just deadpans that he has no idea. Great pep talk, man. This Elder Shadow stands over a defeated Genoza, ready to end this little experiment. Down on the ground, Genoza looks completely broken, his new power failing him. Its sword raised high, the Shadow prepares to deliver the final decisive blow. Hitomi lets out another terrified scream, watching her father's last moments. But suddenly, Genoza's eyes flare red with a new, furious determination. He flashes back to his daughter, begging him to come home, giving him a reason to fight on. He is fueled by a painful memory of Hitomi screaming that she wished she'd never met him. With a silent apology, Genoza grips his thunder hammer, ready to atone for everything. He then slams it down, unleashing a massive shockwave of pure lightning at the Elder Shadow. For the first time, the monster actually looks a little surprised by this sudden power-up. It is forced to leap back as the ground in front of it completely erupts. Now fully embracing his new god form, Genoza charges forward to press the attack. Shizuya is absolutely losing his mind, yelling that this is the true power of the data. Our brand new deity brings his hammer down for a devastating overhead smash, but the Elder Shadow throws up a last-second hexagonal shield to block the hit. That shield gets completely obliterated as the hammer crashes through it like glass. This sheer force of the blow sends the monster flying backwards across the street. Without missing a beat, Genoza leaps into the air to deliver a final decisive strike. His attack connects with the ground, creating an absolutely colossal electrical explosion. From a safe distance, the squad just watches the mushroom cloud of blue energy billow upwards. Even Shizuya is left sweating, asking aloud if they actually managed to win. Elsewhere, William gets a very convenient report that the crisis is over and Kaijo is safe. A crowd of survivors, including the blonde teammate, are celebrating, thinking they can finally go home. This blonde guy turns to thank William's men, ready to part ways and forget this nightmare. William, however, drops the act, saying he will be taking the goods they are leaving behind. This statement stops the blonde teammate cold, who has absolutely no clue what he means. A new muscle-bound angel appears on the scene, demanding all the monsters and tech as his price. William, on the phone, explains this new monster is a president and he has zero authority to interfere. Smart move. With that little bit of corporate saya out of the way, he just hangs up the call. This blonde teammate, thinking it is all over, asks if they are finally free to go home. But William drops the bomb. The new arrivals are not here for the survivors, they are here for Genoza. Right on cue, military helicopters descend, pinning the Thunder God in their spotlights. Hitomi looks on in total confusion, wondering what the hell is going on now. Genoza gets pelted with a volley of darts, the military's brilliant plan to take down a literal god. Shizuya immediately clocks them as tranquilizer darts. They are trying to capture him alive. A commander orders all units to the Riton building to secure the unidentified life form. His squad immediately mobilizes, ready to follow their very questionable orders. Hitomi is absolutely losing it, screaming that they are attacking the hero who just saved the city. One of the soldiers just gives the classic sorry, just following orders excuse real profile and courage. Shizuya tries to warn them off, yelling that they have no idea what they are messing with, but the soldiers just brush him off because orders are orders is the best way to not think. This commander gives the order to attack, and Genoza braces himself for round 2. His eyes flare with red energy as he prepares to deal with these new pests. Shizuya can only watch in horror, screaming that this is a suicide mission for the soldiers. Genoza swings his hammer, unleashing a wave of pure power against the military assault. This result is a blinding explosion as god-tier power meets conventional weaponry. This soldiers immediately open fire because shooting at a literal god seems like a great idea. Of course, the bullets just ping off Genoza's chest like he is made of solid steel. When that does not work, they decide to bring in a freaking tank. Escalation is key. It fires a shell point-blank, a last-ditch effort to solve a problem with brute force. Hitomi can only scream in terror as her dad is engulfed in the blast. This resulting explosion is massive, lighting up the entire block in a ball of fire, but Genoza just walks out of the smoke without a scratch, looking seriously annoyed now. He raises his hand, gathering a terrifying amount of energy as helicopters swarm above him. From the sidelines, Hitomi just cannot understand why they are attacking the man who saved them all. Shizuya explains the grim reality to them, and uncontrollable power is just another monster to be put down. Meanwhile, one of William's men runs up, telling him something is seriously wrong. A tablet shows a critical warning flashing from Genoza's internal circuit monitor. William's colleague looks concerned, asking whose circuit is going haywire. This report confirms it is Genoza. The data is officially going out of control. This older scientist admits they knew a rampage was possible, but the military just fast-tracked it. William calmly explains there are only 2 ways this ends: Genoza dies or his power explodes catastrophically. Elsewhere, a military general is told to retreat or face total annihilation, but he is not buying it. An aide tries to warn him that they are already suffering considerable casualties out there. This general just slams his fist down, screaming for silence. He is not hearing any of it. His brilliant reasoning: if they retreat, the military looks weak and some corporation gets all the glory. This general's brilliant plan results in his troops getting vaporized by beams of golden light. Genoza's body crackles with raw power, his form twisting into something much more demonic. Hitomi turns to Shizuya in a panic, asking what the hell is happening to her dad now. Our boy can only stare in disbelief, realizing Genoza is undergoing yet another transformation. And there it is, Genoza's final form, a full-blown berserker god ready to wreck everything. He lets out a primal scream as a beam of pure destruction erupts from his forehead. This attack just completely obliterates the military's position in a chain of fiery explosions. Now a true monster, Genoza holds a core of unstable energy, looking like a final boss. All that is left of the soldiers is a helmet and rifle half buried in the smoldering rubble. One of the few survivors crawls from the wreckage, absolutely terrified by what he is seeing. He screams for his comrades to retreat, telling them to run if they want to live. Genoza, completely lost to rage, swings his hammer in a wide, destructive arc. This resulting shockwave tears through the street, causing even more widespread devastation. With a furious roar, he unleashes all his pent-up power, his eyes glowing with malice. A massive pillar of energy shoots into the sky as his rampage reaches its peak. Shizuya shields Hitomi as a powerful force wave pushes them back from the blast zone. He grimly states the obvious: Genoza is out of control and might just destroy the whole city. Hitomi's expression shifts from fear to a cold, chilling resolve. Shizuya tries to console her, saying it must be hard to watch her father become this. But she cuts him off, declaring that if it is a choice between him and the city, she will save the city. On his knees, William admits this is the worst possible outcome. A full-on rampage was always on the table. A mysterious man in a trench coat appears as William admits they totally underestimated Genoza's power. An aide then informs him that the general is on the line, and he probably is not calling to say hi. On the call, the general is absolutely losing it, blaming William for bringing the entire city to ruin. William fires back that this whole mess started because the military decided to attack their only hero. Of course, the general refuses to hear it, screaming they were saving Kaijo. Great job so far, buddy. This blame game continues, with the general threatening that if William cannot stop the monster, his company is toast. That threat seems to hit home as William's phone just clatters to the ground. His colleague asks for the next move, and William's face is pure, unadulterated: we are screwed. With a new resolve, William declares they have to stop Genoza, ordering the Oathkeepers to assemble. He rallies his elite squad, telling them this is the greatest crisis they have ever faced. A couple of the fighters are all in, declaring they will either save the city or die with it. Another member with silver hair confirms the vote, ready to charge into certain doom, but the guy in the trench coat raises a cybernetic hand, calmly stating that he objects. William is completely stunned, asking this Kaketsubata if he is seriously refusing to fight. Kaketsubata just lays out the cold, hard truth: they do not stand a ghost of a chance against that monster. This dose of reality clearly hits William, who seems to be at a total loss for words. His counterproposal is simple: focus on saving civilians instead of throwing their lives away for nothing. But William cannot let it go, insisting he cannot just abandon the thunder demon god he created. So Kaketsubata hits him with the final question: is he really willing to sacrifice his entire team? This rest of William's elite Oathkeepers look on, not exactly thrilled about the suicide mission. But Kaketsubata lays out his simple logic: if they die, it is over, but if they live, they can talk. This blonde teammate Sato immediately agrees, telling William that Kaketsubata has a point. William is absolutely floored that even Sato is siding with the guy who just defied his orders. Kakitsubata clarifies he is not scared of dying, he'd just prefer to try everything else first. With that, he tells William the plan is officially changing to retreat, effective immediately. An enraged William demands to know what the hell he is doing as the team starts to walk off. Kakitsubata just smirks, saying he will not let them die for nothing, but he is willing to take a gamble. This just makes William lose it, screaming that he is contradicting his own "do not die uselessly" speech. Ignoring him completely, Kakitsubata breaks into a full sprint straight towards Genoza. He charges alone across the ruined street toward the berserker god, who is a pillar of raw destruction. As a wave of energy blasts toward him, he casually forms a crystalline shield on his arm. He then leaps onto some rubble and yells at Genoza to stop, trying to reason with the monster. William just watches from a distance, completely baffled by what Kakitsubata is trying to do. His grand plan is to remind Genoza about Hitomi, hoping his fatherly love is still in there somewhere. And William realizes the absolute insanity of it all. He is trying to talk Nojutsu, a rampaging demigod. Genoza, meanwhile, just tightens his grip on his hammer, looking less than receptive to heart-to-heart. But Kakitsubata sees a flicker of movement and declares that Genoza reacted to his words. For a second, even William wonders if this completely unhinged strategy might actually be working. Then Genoza winds up for a world-ending smash, showing exactly what kind of reaction he had in mind. As Kakitsubata charges in, Hitomi screams for Shizuya, absolutely terrified by the suicide mission unfolding. But it is the trench coat-wearing dissenter facing the god alone, throwing up a defensive shield. Genoza brings the hammer down with enough force to level a building, so much for that heart-to-heart. Kakitsubata barely dodges the impact, which completely shatters the asphalt where he just stood. With pure, unthinking fury in his eyes, Genoza wins up for another devastating swing. In a surprising counter, Kakitsubata fires a concentrated beam of blue mana right back at him. He is not backing down an inch, his face a mask of pure, unyielding determination. William and the rest of the Oathkeepers can only watch, completely stunned by this one-man stand. From the sidelines, Hitomi just pleads for his safety, her earlier resolve totally gone. Genoza prepares to unleash another world-ending attack as a tiny dragon circles overhead. Wait, what? Suddenly, a blue-haired woman on a giant griffin swoops in from out of nowhere. Talk about a cavalry charge. She snatches Kakitsubata out of the way just as Genoza's hammer obliterates the spot. This thunder god is left standing in a fresh crater, looking around for the guy who just vanished. Meanwhile, the griffin carries them both to safety, making a swift aerial retreat from the battle. A girl in a wheelchair named Kakon watches them go, wondering why a shadow is helping a human. From her perspective, the griffin soars over the ruined city, a truly bizarre sight. This blue-haired woman explains she's just returning a favor, not looking for an unwinnable fight. But Kakitsubata tells her this time is different, implying the stakes are higher than ever. Flying over the devastation, she agrees this is a problem that affects the entire city of Kaijo. Back on the ground, Genoza glows ominously, apparently the key to fighting future shadows. This blue-haired writer tells Kakitsubata it is useless, declaring they have to abandon Kaijo now. Down below, Hitomi in her wheelchair pleads for their help just one more time. Kakitsubata explains to his rescuer that while she came for the girl, his own reasons are different. With a sigh, she agrees to lend her power again, and the griffin dives back into the fray. Meanwhile, a new blonde guy and his older colleague watch Genoza's lightning tear up the skyline. This blonde man grimly notes that Genoza is gathering all that power to completely crush the city. And yeah, the massive bolts slamming into skyscrapers seem to confirm his crushing theory. His older partner panics, yelling that they need to escape immediately or it'll be too late. Hitomi then asks the blonde guy if he is really okay with Shizuya just escaping like that. With a look of chilling resolve, she declares her intention to go talk to her dad. She starts wheeling herself into the war zone as the blonde guy screams, asking if she has a death wish. But his partner just calmly tells him to let her go, spouting some nonsense about everyone's path. This blonde guy is not having it, insisting they cannot just run from their responsibility for this disaster. His colleague agrees, adding that some sacrifices are needed to obtain the world, which sounds totally normal. A sinister smirk from the blonde dude confirms he is absolutely on board with the whole sacrifices plan. As they scheme, civilians scramble to evacuate, completely unaware of the corporate agenda unfolding. These men who were with Hitomi have already bylaid, leaving her completely alone in the street. High above, the griffin rider yells for Hitomi to stop, saying she does not even recognize her anymore. Her dad, Genoza, is a little too busy having a rage meltdown to notice any family drama. He just raises his glowing hammer, ready to bring down another round of city-leveling punishment. Shizuya looks on in despair, muttering that it is all over for the city of Kaijo. But Hitomi is not giving up, calling out to the raging monster that was once her dad. She wheels herself right in front of him, a tiny figure before a god of destruction. From the sky, Kakitsubata and the griffin rider are completely stunned by her insane bravery. In a desperate plea, she tells him that even if he was not a great husband to her mom, he was, without a doubt, the absolute best dad to her, and the waterworks start. And holy crap, a single tear actually falls from Genoza's monstrous eye. She reaches out, begging him to respond to show any sign that he can hear her. Kakitsubata sees this and gets a surge of hope, realizing Genoza is still conscious in there. Inside the beast, Genoza is fighting it, his eyes glowing with a furious red light. But the rage wins out as he raises his hammer to strike his own daughter down. Hitomi screams in terror, her last-ditch emotional appeal apparently failing spectacularly. This griffin rider tells Kakitsubata it is no good, saying they can only save one of them. Then a voice cuts through the chaos. It is Genoza begging Shizuya to kill him. He roars that he needs to be put down now before it is too late for everyone else. Shizuya's face hardens as he apologizes to Hitomi, knowing this is the only way. Dronzer seems to accept his fate, kneeling before his daughter for the final blow. With a heartbreaking look, Hitomi gives the order, put him out of his misery. Wasting no time, Shizuya leaps from the griffin, his arm charged with crackling energy. He dives straight for Dronzer, unleashing a Leon Slash to end this once and for all. This Leon Slash connects with a massive burst of energy, a direct hit. But Dronzer just stands there, his defense stat apparently maxed out. Shizuya stumbles back, realizing his ultimate move barely even scratched the guy. Turns out the Thunder God is basically running on an external battery of pure lightning. So Shizuya figures he just needs to unplug him, but has no idea where the outlet is. Then he remembers the chip, the little piece of tech that started this whole mess. Following the energy flow, he spots a glowing weak point right on Dronzer's chest. Dronzer himself screams for Shizuya to hurry it up while he has still got some control left. With no time to spare, the monster starts charging up a city-ending blast of his own. In a panic, Shizuya yells for Kakon to give him back his ride. He needs that griffin now. She agrees, and he hops on with the blue-haired rider for a high-speed aerial assault. They dive straight toward the swirling vortex of lightning and rage that is Dronzer. With laser focus, Shizuya knows this is his one and only shot to end this. He charges up a magic cannon on his arm, aiming for that tiny weak spot. This beam slams right into Dronzer's chest, hitting the chip dead on. Apologizing for what he has to do, Shizuya pours every last bit of power into the blast. This resulting explosion sends him and the griffin rider flying backwards through the air. Dronzer's monstrous form starts to crack and shatter under the immense energy overload. After a blinding flash, the sky clears, and the survivors below wonder if they have actually been saved. Even the two corporate schemers are stunned, unable to believe Shizuya actually took down a god. In the aftermath, Dronzer is human again, lying on the pavement as Hitomi weeps over him. With his last breaths, he apologizes for not being there to watch her grow up. But she tearfully insists she is the one who should be sorry for her terrible attitude. He just tells her that hearing her call him dad is more than enough for him, and with a final, heartbreaking cry of daddy, she watches him pass away. Kakitsubata steps in to comfort her, assuring her that her father was a true hero. Just then, William and the Oathkeepers show up, asking if Kakitsubata * really defeated the Thunder God. One of his teammates even calls him the MVP, a big step up from Suicide Mission Nutjob. Another guy tries to ask how he pulled it off, but Kakitsubata just gives him the SHHH treatment. He glances back at the grieving Hitomi, saying he will explain everything later. William then makes a surprisingly decent offer to honor Dronzer's wish by healing Hitomi's legs, but she has a different request, looking up with fiery resolve to become an Oathkeeper herself. After a moment of shock, William agrees, looking like he just found his newest star player. And just like that, she is welcomed to the team, surrounded by her new, heavily armed colleagues. Later, William tells Kakitsubata he owes him a massive debt and asks what he wants as a reward. Our boy just smirks and says all he really wants is a chance to rest peacefully. So William casually offers him a private island to chill on because of course he owns one. Then he gets serious, asking if they happen to find a chip inside Dronzer's body. Kakitsubata confirms there was one, but he made sure to destroy it during the final attack. William says that is fine as long as he is not hiding it, waving him off to his island vacation. William asks if Shizuya is suspicious of him, getting a very telling side-eye in return. In a much quieter moment, the blue-haired rider and her griffin watch the sunset over the city. On the rooftop, she asks Shizuya what his plans are now that the dust has settled. She then asks if he is planning to just abandon her after she was his personal cavalry. Our boy just smirks back, inviting her to come recuperate with him if she's got no plans. Kakon immediately calls him on it, pointing out that Hitomi just lost her dad and needs him. Shizuya reasons that since he is the one who killed her father, she likely needs space to process. Just then, his prosthetic arm starts glowing with some kind of weird blue energy. He is totally blindsided, having no clue what the hell is happening to his arm. A system message pops up right in his face, data installation in progress. Uh-oh, this triggers a shocking memory of two people falling, one trying desperately to save the other. Fast forward half a month and we are looking at a peaceful cityscape. A high-tech door slides open with a dramatic hiss, smoke pouring out into the room. From the smoke, a woman in casual pants and shoes steps into the room. Holy crap, it is Hitomi, and she is standing, declaring she can finally walk again. Her celebration is cut short when she spots someone else in the room, a cloaked stranger. Without a word, the cloaked attacker dives at her, brandishing a glowing blue knife. Showing some new reflexes, she dodges back as the blade slams into the ground. In a shocking counter, she blocks the blade with her bare hand, which is now glowing with power. This attacker gets knocked back and Hitomi stands ready, clearly not the same girl from before. A slow, deliberate clap echoes through the sterile room, setting a very ominous mood. It is William congratulating the cloaked attacker on a successful surgery, which is a weird way to put it. Hitomi, now standing on her own 2 feet, demands to know what the hell is going on. Her attacker, a woman named Shimoda, just stands there looking intimidating in her glowy neon mask. William's crew praises her as the #1 martial artist, which explains the fancy moves from before. With a knowing smirk, Hitomi figures it out. This whole near-death experience was just a test. One of William's guys confirms it was her final exam to become an Oathkeeper, and she passed. This Dr. Dude calls William boss, confirming he is the one pulling all the strings here. William then tells some guy named Sato to give Hitomi the grand tour while he attends to business. He and his partner walk into an office where a couple of interesting characters are waiting. A red-haired girl with a chaotic vibe and a masked green-haired guy greet him from his desk. Looking less than thrilled, William just tells the girl to get out of his chair. She apologizes with a terrifying grin, saying his chair is just super comfy, totally normal behavior. Getting straight to it, he asks if they managed to find the data Genoza left behind. This masked dude gives a simple, unhelpful no, which probably is not what William wanted to hear. So William asks why they even bothered coming back if they failed the one thing he asked for. But the girl says she found something better, some incredible intel from the Ritun building. She reveals Genoza was secretly working with a mysterious person called Z from the shadows. This rocks William, who realizes Genoza knew about a whole shadow world from the very beginning. His partner wonders aloud if their own business deal was just another part of Genoza's master plan. Furious, William orders his team to keep investigating and find this mysterious Z. Just as his two agents are leaving, he calls out for them to wait. This red-haired girl turns back, asking what else he could possibly want from them. He lays down a new rule: no more solo visits, since he needs to keep their connection to seem a secret. She agrees with maximum sarcasm, promising to post on social media that they are total strangers. Having had enough of their attitude, William just screams at them to get out now. Meanwhile, on a gorgeous private island, someone's vacation is in full swing. It is Shizuya living his best life on a diving board and finally getting that rest he asked for. Kakon is there too, completely fawning over him and begging him to jump already. He executes a perfect dive, mentally scoring himself 100 points for the flawless entry. But his own prosthetic arm suddenly grabs his shorts, which is definitely not normal. A massive silver dragon yanks him into the sky and he is not happy about it. Then the dragon just drops him, sending our boy plummeting towards the ocean. He hits the water with a colossal splash, not exactly the graceful entry he was hoping for. From the beach, Kakon is dying of laughter, calling it payback for him being a tough boss. Shizuya surfaces looking completely unamused, pointing out they were supposed to be a team. Their little spat is interrupted by a man in a suit, announcing Shizuya has a phone call. Taking the phone, he confirms his identity, wondering who could be calling him out here. This voice on the other end is frantic. Mido City is under attack by shadows and they need help. And just like that, we are back in the city, a helicopter closing in on a skyscraper rooftop. Shizuya and Kakon step off the helicopter, looking ready for business. So much for that island getaway. Awaiting them is a full-on reception committee with a welcome back hero banner, which is not at all awkward. Our boy is less than thrilled, thinking this whole hero worship thing is a tad excessive. A silver-haired man shakes his hand, calling him the world-famous hero standing against the shadows. His new teammates are already gossiping, impressed that the legendary #1 commander is on their side. Shizuya cuts right through the praise, immediately asking where Hitomi is. This leader explains she is taking time to grieve her father, then ushers Shizuya into the briefing. Inside, the situation is dire. Mido City is under siege, and if its nuclear plant goes, the whole world is contaminated. One of the guys questions their chances if the military is failing, but his masked buddy says that is exactly why they have to fight. Their leader reminds them that any plan needs his approval, and they will be using strategy, not just brute force. This immediately pisses off the hot-headed one, who takes it as a personal insult to his intelligence or lack thereof. A woman in a very cool mask just sighs, telling them to wake her up when the testosterone contest is over. Turning to the only adult in the room, the leader asks Shizuya for his take on the situation. Shizuya points out the shadows are moving just like they did in the game Azure Land, giving them a major tactical advantage. Intrigued, the leader agrees and asks him to lay out the specifics of his plan. He explains Mido City's main industry is robotics, which means the shadows are farming them for easy XP just like players would. This hothead is still skeptical, doubting they can stop an entire army from leveling up. With a confident smirk, Shizuya says fighting shadows is hard, but destroying man-made robots is easy. This leader leans in, completely hooked and asking what our boy has in mind. Shizuya drops the name of his bold new strategy, Operation Wildfire. This whole squad just stares, completely baffled by the name Operation Wildfire. Shizuya explains his logic: you fight a forest fire by burning away its fuel source. With a confident smirk, he asks the team's leader if he is ready to commit. But the spiky-haired hothead immediately objects, demanding to know his basis for the plan. Shizuya calmly replies his basis is his encyclopedic knowledge of the game's world. This woman in the mask chimes in, asking who he thinks he is since he is not their guild's boss. Kakon smugly corrects her. Shizuya is not just the boss, he is the top commander. This news absolutely fries the hothead's brain, who cannot believe what he is hearing. We flash back 6 months to him and a blonde warrior facing a massive boss monster. This blonde guy warns him not to rush in, but of course he does not listen. As the blonde commander swoops past, the hothead accuses him of trying to steal the kill. This commander quickly explains the boss's reflect and paralysis mechanics, which require strategy, not brute force. Our hothead scoffs, calling him a coward who scavenges wins instead of fighting honorably. To prove his point, he charges headfirst at the monster, ready to show off his strength. He lands a massive fire punch, feeling pretty good about himself for a solid half-second. Then the boss's reflectability kicks in, zapping him with a face full of his own attack. He gets blasted backwards, crashing into the ground like a sack of very angry potatoes. Now completely helpless, he can only watch as the monster raises a fist to finish him off. Just in time, the blonde commander intercepts the blow, saving the guy who just insulted him. This boss's hoof is suddenly trapped in a glowing purple magic circle, the real strategy at work. This commander's team then swoops in with a flawless X-slash, showing the loudmouth what an actual strategy looks like. Now that he is not getting his face melted, the hothead asks how the commander knew all that for a day 1 dungeon. This commander basically says he paid attention, pointing out that even the trash mobs telegraph the boss's mechanics. Our boy's ego is still fighting for its life, trying to write it all off as just a lucky guess. One of the commander's teammates chimes in, confirming he has never misread a situation before. A hell of a flex. This hothead's brain just short-circuits, unable to process someone having that much game knowledge. Being the bigger person, the commander offers a handshake and an invite to raid together in the future. This hothead accepts, and just like that, a rival becomes an admirer. Back in the present, he finally connects the dots. That legendary commander was Shizuya. Shizuya just leans back with a smug grin, asking if anyone else has a problem with his plan. This hothead can only stand there in stunned silence, his entire argument completely dismantled. Seeing no more complaints, the team leader makes it official. Operation